Today, we're going to be talking about some FNAF fan games that disappeared long before the community was ready to let them go. Whether they were abandoned, forgotten, or simply faded away with time, these games had something special that deserved another chance. Some of these could genuinely thrive if they returned today, so let's get into it. Five Nights at Freddy's has a very distinct formula that makes all of its fan games instantly recognizable. Very rarely do I see a FNAF fan game and not be able to say it's a FNAF fan game, and I think you'd agree. If I showed you a video clip of a FNAF fan game you've never seen, I'm pretty confident that you'd be able to tell me it's a FNAF fan game, and you would most likely be 100% right. Sometimes, however, a FNAF fan game will be so well made to the point that at first glance you'd think it's just a normal horror game. Obviously, if you were to begin playing it, you'd very quickly notice it's a fan game, but my point is that in the gaming landscape, unless you're specifically looking for a FNAF fan game to play, even just seeing that formula or look of one would probably turn somebody away. And the game I'll be covering today is a perfect example of the opposite of that. By looking at the gameplay of this game, there's a good chance that, considering you haven't seen it before, you might not be able to tell it's a FNAF fan game at all. That's also considering you don't know who Circus Baby is. I'll get more into her when the time comes, but whatever. I really needed a hook to start this video with. Maybe this one isn't my strongest, but it's what I wrote, so it's what we're going with. The game we'll be diving into today is the Web of Cogs and Oil. Before we begin, in the last video I asked you what your favorite non-DLC specimen from Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion was and why. My favorite comment was this one by Joker of Spades. They chose Specimen 1 because it's pretty funny how it has killed a person, and I agree. I know that they cause heart attacks to kill, but I think the funny part is how that's only ever worked on one person, one time, ever. Also, I've never said this publicly, but I have a Twitter and an Instagram account that you can follow if you're interested. I'm not super active on either right now, but I figure it'd be the normal YouTuber thing to do, so those are in the link in the description. YouTube also keeps sending me emails telling me to set up channel memberships. I feel like it's a bit too early in this channel's lifespan to set something like that up, but let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in. I would just put stuff on there for members like early access to videos, allowing you guys to have a say in what game I make a video on next, blah blah blah, membership stuff. Also, let me know if you'd prefer I did it through YouTube memberships or Patreon, but of course, that doesn't need to happen if you all don't want it to. Sorry, that intro was a bit longer than my normal ones, but it's over now, so let's hop into the Web of Cogs and Oil. The Web of Cogs and Oil is both similar to Five Nights at Freddy's and different from it at the same time. In Five Nights at Freddy's, you start on a menu screen, select new game, and night 1 begins. The Web of Cogs and Oil does it a bit differently. Rather than having the game split up into nights, it's split up into challenges. The Web of Cogs and Oil has 4 monsters, and each monster has its own challenge that you can select from the menu, and each plays differently. I actually really like this non-linearity because if I were to get stuck on one monster and get super frustrated, I could always take a break from that one and work on another. Now, of course, to be fair, I don't feel like you'll be getting frustrated with any of these monsters because none of their challenges I felt were very difficult. In fact, I beat all but one of them on the first try. What can I say? Pretty amazing. So, yeah, worship me. Moving along, I'm going to be talking about the monsters from left to right as they appear on the menu. So let's begin by talking about the corpse. The corpse is by far the easiest to defeat. When you load in, you'll immediately see a timer that begins counting down, and this is the same for all monsters. All you have to do is survive until that timer runs out. I actually really like this mechanic because I feel it causes much more anxiety and stress because you can really see how close you are to completing the challenge, and when you feel like you're on the brink of losing, seeing that you only have 10 seconds left to go can really make your asshole invert even deeper into your body. The corpse has a very basic mechanic. In this challenge, you're locked in a freezer with it. You are at the back of the freezer and the corpse is standing in the doorway blocking your only exit. All he does is walk forward, but he'll only do so when the lights on the ceiling begin to dim. I think this is really creepy. Not scary, but creepy. I'd like to imagine that he only moves while the lights are dim in hopes that you don't see him moving. Imagining it like that makes the atmosphere all the more terrifying. So, how do you keep the lights from going dim, you may be asking? Well, if you'd shut up and let me do my job here, I'd tell you, so pipe down, bud. In front of you, facing the corpse, there is a pole coming out of the ground with a crank attached to it. When you spin the crank, it'll recharge the lights on the ceiling, and if the corpse had already inched closer to you, as the lights become brighter, he'll move away from you and back to the entrance of the freezer. But if that were all, it'd be far too easy. Behind you, there is a thermostat that is constantly going down, making the freezer colder. You'll have to make sure the freezer's temperature doesn't drop too low, because if it gets too cold, you'll shiver so hard that it causes your back to snap in half and you'll die. However, you have to make sure you don't raise the temperature of the freezer too high either. The higher the temperature of the freezer, the faster your lights will dim, leaving you vulnerable to the corpse. And that's it. Do that until the timer runs out and you'll have beaten the corpse. Before we move on to the next monster, I'd like to mention that there is a remaster of this game that is currently being worked on. It's on hiatus right now, but I think it'd be fun to offer some suggestions to the dev that I think would be a cool addition. I love the way each monster plays as it is, but I think it'd be a cool idea if there was sort of a new game plus type feature, wherein after you beat a monster, you can challenge them again and the difficulty will increase, granting you a second star for that monster. But I feel that the way you'd increase the difficulty should definitely be through mechanics rather than just saying, "Hey, thermostat, go down quick, corpse move faster and throw cheeks." For the corpse, I think a really interesting way to increase his difficulty would be to make it so that once he inches closer to you, he won't move back once you recharge the lights. This will make the whole challenge feel much more intense, as you won't be able to spend nearly as long on the thermostat as you typically could. Again, this is purely a new game plus type of idea, as I think the way each monster plays normally is pretty perfectly balanced. This would just be for the sociopaths who want more of a challenge. The second monster is the Dxtr. The Dxtr is a little toy clown. In his challenge, you're sitting in a bedroom with him in front of you. All you have as a tool of defense is a flashlight. However, the battery to this flashlight drains pretty quickly, so having it on for too long will very easily fuck you over. The Dxtr begins in front of you, slumped over. You'll have to listen closely for his footsteps. Once you hear him begin to move, you'll have to find which side of the room he's running towards and flash your light at him. Once you do, he'll ragdoll on the ground in a very painful looking way. If at any point he goes off of either side of your screen, it's game over. Fun fact, this is the only monster I lost to, if you were curious. However, I don't blame myself. Watch this clip. Hey, that was not my fault. That was not my fault. We flashed him. We flashed him. What is this bullshit? That, my friends, is what I call Class A bullshit. Anyways, that's not all this little fucker does. If all you had to do was listen, it'd be incredibly easy. This guy will also move without making any noise at all. When he does, he won't move towards the sides of your screen like he does when he makes noise. Instead, he'll slowly inch towards you. This forces you to turn your flashlight on to check his location all the time to make sure he's not creeping up on you. But of course, because your flashlight drains so quickly, doing so isn't exactly something you'll want to do. On top of this, there are also two jack-in-the-boxes on both sides of the room. Occasionally, they will pop open and create footstep sounds that are basically identical to the Dxtr's, and will trick you into turning your light on. Get it? Trick, like in Dxtr? Like it's his name? Dxtr? Trick? Like that's why they call him the Trick. Repeat this process until the timer runs out and you're all good. I think a fun way to increase the Dxtr's difficulty would be to require your flashlight to be on for a period of time before you could turn it off. I say this because by the time I finished the challenge, my flashlight battery was basically half full. All you need to do is very quickly flash it off and on. This gives you enough time to check and make sure he's still there without wasting almost any battery at all. By requiring your flashlight to stay on for even a full second or two before being allowed to be turned back off, you would force the player to have a much lower battery life by the time the challenge is over, making you really think about when you should be using it throughout the challenge. The third monster is the Demon. This one is a doozy. In this challenge, you'll find yourself in a basement with 4 candles and a pentagram on the wall. All you have to do is manage 3 things. 1. Make sure the demon's candles don't go out. The demon has 3 of the 4 candles. 2. Make sure the servant's candle doesn't go out either. The servant has the remaining 1 candle. And 3. Make sure the pentagram on the wall doesn't get too bright. Doing all of these things is really easy. It's managing them all at the same time that can get stressful. Let's start with the pentagram. Throughout the night, it will slowly begin to get brighter and brighter. All you have to do is click hold on it to slowly dim it back down. It's pretty much the music box from FNAF 2. The demon's candles will occasionally go out at random. When one does, all you have to do is click on it to relight it. Super simple. It's the servant's candle that makes this challenge hard. The servant's candle goes out far more frequently than the demon's does, and when his candle does go out, instead of killing you like the demon does, he instead will go over to the demon's candles and blow them out. And he does this very fast. It feels like most of the time that the moment that little asshole's candle goes out, he spawns on the demon's candles and blows those bitches out. It's honestly the pentagram, however, that will really make your penis retract inside your body. Even though dealing with it is super easy, because of how frequently you'll be dealing with the servant, you'll often find yourself not having enough time to tend to it, meaning that as the challenge comes closer to a close, the pentagram is going to be bright as shit, and I promise you that when it is, you'll be holding your breath. I think an interesting way to make this challenge more difficult would be to have the servant blow out 2 candles at a time rather than just 1. This only works because when all of the demon's candles are snuffed, he doesn't kill you immediately. I also think that if all the demon's candles are out and the servant's candles are out at the same time, you should die instantly. This would just add another epic layer of stress to a challenge that already fondled me non-consensually. The final monster is the machine. This one is Circus Baby from FNAF. I don't totally understand why the dev chose to use a FNAF character in this game, considering the other 3 monsters were all original, but I digress. If the other 3 challenges didn't make your butthole pucker enough, I promise you that this one will. In this challenge, you're in a very large industrial building. In the room you're in, you'll find a door with a valve keeping it closed, a window in front of you, and a maintenance panel. This challenge switches up the formula in a really small but very interesting way. In this challenge, you're against the clock. Rather than surviving, you never want that timer to reach 0, because if you do, I bet you could take a pretty good guess as to what happens to you. So how do you escape? Well, throughout the building there are several locked doors. You'll have to use the maintenance panel to unlock each of them before leaving the room you're in and escaping. Upon opening the maintenance panel, you'll see all 5 doors marked red and a D-pad on the side of the screen. You'll have to wait until one of the arrows on the D-pad glows green and then press that corresponding arrow on your keyboard. Do this 5 times and the door will turn green, signifying that it has been unlocked, which means doing this 25 times is all you have to do. However, these arrows don't glow immediately. I'd say there's a good 3 seconds between each arrow lighting up, and since you're in a time crunch where every second counts, 3 seconds will feel like a lifetime. You might be wondering where Baby is. Well, you better not keep your panel up for too long because she will quickly, and I mean very fucking quickly, inch closer and closer towards your window. Just looking at her will make her slowly move away. But once she reaches a certain point, no matter how long you look at her, she won't move back. If she gets too close, she'll break the window and kill you. This adds such a high level of stress it isn't even funny. You might think, well, if the arrows take a while to glow and you need to spend time watching Baby, that sounds super simple. But you also need to keep in mind how fast she moves. Having that panel up for 1 second will allow her to move 2 stages towards your window sometimes, and it'll take a solid 3 to 4 seconds to make her completely go away. Do you see the problem here? It is so incredibly stressful, but hey, once you unlock all 5 doors, all you need to do is leave. Wait, all the things are done. Oh, you're fucking kidding. You're fucking kidding. I lied. After doing all that and realizing how little time you have left on the clock, now you need to slowly crank the valve on the door enough times to get it to unlock. And unlike the maintenance panel, the door is not on the same screen as the window, so you'll have to painstakingly look back and forth from the door to Baby. Again, 1 second is enough to make her launch light speed at that goddamn window, so having to look away, do a task, and then look back will feel like a fucking calendar year. But once you get that door open, you're home free. I honestly can't think of a super great way to make this challenge any harder in a meaningful way. Even though I beat it on the first try, it was still easily the most stressful and challenging. I'm pretty sure I only finished with 2 seconds remaining, but if I had to think of something to add more challenge, I'd say each door you unlock in the maintenance panel should have a different way of unlocking it. The first door could be the arrow keys, but maybe the second door you have to click one of 9 glowing buttons instead, and then another one could maybe be a number on your keyboard, and then each other door would have their own simple task to do, and you could have each door's task randomized so that you couldn't prepare for what you'll have to see in a playthrough. I think you should definitely leave the final door section the same though. I think it's so cool how that's thrown at you last minute, and I love it. Sometimes, while digging through GameJolt for a FNAF game to play, I find a game that feels like it's inspired by FNAF rather than being a fan game. And it's usually these games that get me super interested in them, their stories, characters, and gameplay loops. By the way, don't sort the FNAF section of GameJolt by newest. You will find some of the weirdest, most god-awful, foul, slapped-together games of all time. Before we start, at the end of the last video, I asked you all what your favorite Five Nights at Wario's 1 character was and why. My favorite answer was this one from Platinum Comet. Not only did they share the same favorite character I had, but they also provided a really good explanation as to why. If you'd like a chance to get your comment at the beginning of a video, stick around to the end when I ask another question. Anyways, a few days ago, I found a FNAF game that blew me out of the water, which is really a good thing because I'm very scared of bodies of water. This game is Playtime with Percy, with a gameplay loop so unique and consistently interesting, along with animatic cutscenes, amazing 2D art, and a final sequence that might be one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I knew I had to talk about it. So sit back, grab a snack, or don't, I'm not your dad, I can't tell you what to do, and get ready to dive into the world of Playtime with Percy. Upon loading up the game and starting a new game, we're greeted with something really refreshing for this genre. Rather than just showing the night screen and hopping in and having a phone call relay all information that we need, we're instead shown a very well-drawn cutscene. While it's more a visual novel and not an animation, it's still super nice nonetheless. Our boss calls us in the middle of the night and asks us for a favor. Even though we were laid off from working at Percy's Playhouse, the location where this game takes place, our boss asks if we'd be willing to do some work for the week as he plans to shut down and have the building demolished on Friday. He needs us to watch over the building and do some extra tasks like fixing up the animatronics since he plans on selling them because they're still worth a decent amount of money. So I have a question already. If we got laid off and no longer work for this guy, why the hell did we answer the phone? I used to work at a Subway until I quit. Even if right now I got a call from my boss from said Subway, there's no chance in hell I would answer it. Maybe I'm just a dick, I don't know. We agree to help our boss for $250. That's it. The whole week. Monday through Friday, $250. Our character, Nick, was happy to accept that. Either this game takes place in 1920, or Nick is the poorest human being on the planet Earth. Unlike most FNAF games, the way this game's gameplay loop works is actually really interesting and a lot different. Each night you do a normal office section, but then afterwards you do another survival minigame that changes with each night. So let's start with Monday. On Monday is where we obviously learn the basics of how the gameplay works. Instead of having to survive until an arbitrary time, you have to do a large task. Once it's done, the night is over. Meaning nights can be finished in 3 minutes or take an hour, depending on how terrible you are at micromanagement. Which, by the way, this game is not for people who are easily overwhelmed. Holy shit, the amount of things you have to memorize and keep track of and react to is batshit insane. However, this game does a really good job of easing you into every new threat it throws at you. I highly recommend you play with tutorials on your first playthrough, as it helped me out a lot to understand what I needed to do. If I didn't have these tutorials on, never in my life would I have figured out how to deal with some of these animatronics. Before I talk about the animatronics that you see on Monday, let's talk about the task that you have to complete every night. You are given a Tamagotchi-like toy called Pal Percy. On this toy, there are 3 possible minigames that you can play. Each time you complete a minigame, you will be given a specific amount of points. Once you collect enough points, the night will end.
As the nights go on, in addition to all the new threats that are added, you will also have to gain an additional amount of points. Just a little something to make this game feel even more stressful. Also, if at any point you go without completing a minigame for too long, you will die. The first of the 3 games is a feeding game. There are 3 possible lanes that food can be dropped down, and you have to move your character, which is Percy, under the food to collect them. After collecting 3 or 4 pieces depending on what the game told you to grab, you will gain your points. The second minigame is a watering minigame. You have to shake a bottle of water up and down to get the water to fill a bowl. Once it's full, you'll get your points. And the third minigame is the play minigame, my favorite of the 3. Percy will move into one of 3 lanes. You will have to move a ball into the same lane and throw it to Percy. After doing this around 5 times, you collect your points. Now, you're unable, most of the time, to do the same minigame multiple times in a row, forcing you to become efficient at all of them. I'm not totally sure how the algorithm for deciding when you can replay a minigame you've already played works, but typically from what I noticed, it seems that once you play a game, it disables. Then, when you complete the other 2 games, it will be enabled again. But keep in mind, that's how I think it works, and I could be, and probably am wrong. The other tool you get is a camera system. Pretty basic stuff, you can see where the animatronics are. FNAF, let's talk about the animatronics. The 2 animatronics on this night are Charlie Cat and Mother Moose. They both work the same way, with a small difference. Both characters will move around the cameras until they enter one of your 2 vents. If you look to the left and rights of your office, you'll be able to see these vents. Now's a good time to mention that I was playing this game with the additional cues setting enabled. I'm not sure what changes if that setting is off, so if your gameplay has some inaccuracies with mine, that setting I turned on is probably why. I also had the colorblind setting on because I am, and there's a lot of color related segments in this game. It really usually just adds symbols on top of colors, but whatever. Where was I? Oh yeah, Charlie Cat and Mother Moose will come into your vents and poke their heads out to look at you. When they do, depending on which one of them it is, you will either have to raise your pal Percy or your camera. If Charlie peeks into your office, you need to drop whatever tool you have up and look at him. If you don't, you die. If Mother Moose peeks in at you, you have to make sure that you are holding up either your pal Percy or your camera. It doesn't matter which one, and if you don't, you die. Pretty simple, but really gets you used to the buttons you need to memorize, since one of the only things I had a consistent problem with in this game was remembering what buttons did what. It's not nearly as horrifying as FNAF Ultimate Custom Night keybinds, but it still confused me personally a lot. After gathering all the points you need, you move on to the post-Monday minigame. In this minigame, your only threat is Charlie Cat. The task you have to complete in this night is selling all of the animatronics in an online auction. Doing so is really easy. Each animatronic has a price that our boss wants us to sell it for. If a buyer isn't offering the exact price we want for it, you click decline and enter a random number the game generates. Every time you decline, the offer will be raised by $100. Once the number is correct, you click accept and move on to the next animatronic. While you're doing this, however, occasionally you will hear Charlie approaching. When you do, all you have to do is hide under your desk until he walks away, then come back up and continue selling. Something this game does that I really like is treat these post-night minigames as a boss battle. Once you sell half the animatronics, Charlie enters his enraged state, just like when you bring a boss's health down halfway in a game like Terraria. When Charlie Cat is enraged, he will come to find you more frequently, you will have less time to react to him, and he will stay in your room longer. On top of that, you will begin getting pop-ups on your computer that you will have to close out of before you can continue auctioning the animatronics. Once selling all of them off, Monday is over. On Tuesday, we're thrown back into the office with a new threat being introduced, Farmer Felix. Sporadically throughout the night, he will begin walking outside of the large window in your office. A newly appeared board is displayed in the top left corner of your screen with 4 colors on it. When Felix walks past, his eyes will glow one of these 4 colors, and you will have to select which color his eyes are on the board before he gets to the other side of your window. Overall, this is super simple to deal with, but on top of everything else you will soon be dealing with, he could very easily become something you forget about. Moving on to Tuesday's post-night minigame, we find ourselves in front of an arcade machine. The task we have to complete here is beating the high score of 6,000 points. You control a small rocket that shoots lasers. Occasionally, UFOs will drop from the top of the screen and we'll have to shoot them. Green UFOs don't do anything special, but red UFOs will shoot lasers at us too. We start with 3 lives, and if at any point our life drops to 0, we die. There are also 3 power-ups that have a chance of dropping. One makes us shoot faster, another gives us a shield, and the final gives us 1 life. The boss of this night is Mother Moose. You will have to listen incredibly closely for 2 distinct sound cues to play. When you hear them, you can pause the game and turn around. Then flash your camera to scare Mother Moose away. If you don't do this in time, you die. That sounds pretty easy, but the arcade game makes more noise than a bombing, so hearing Mother Moose can actually be pretty difficult at times. Once you reach the halfway point, she becomes enraged. While enraged, she will attack more frequently and take 2 camera flashes instead of 1, meaning you have to react way faster. In addition, asteroids and yellow UFOs are added to the arcade game. Asteroids are really large. They take way more shots to kill than a UFO, but move very slowly. Yellow UFOs can move horizontally in addition to moving vertically. They don't shoot lasers though, so they're not really an issue. Once you reach 6,000 points, it's on to Wednesday. Wednesday introduces a new tool and a new animatronic. The new tool is your door. Hold-clicking it will lock it. This is important because of the new threat, Percy Poodle, the main antagonist of this game. Percy will make his way down your hall throughout the night. When he gets to your door, he will start pounding on it and you'll have to lock the door until he gives up. In addition, a very small version of Percy will quickly and randomly open your door and peek in. When he does, just close the door quickly and he'll leave. Pretty simple and easy to understand mechanics, but with how difficult the other characters are starting to get, this on top of all of it is where this game starts to get really stressful. Now let's talk about the Wednesday post-night minigame. In this minigame, your task is repairing the power. You have to do this for each room in the building through a panel. Once you choose a room, you will have to play one of a few selection of minigames. All of them are pretty simple, and I'm sure you'll be able to figure out how they play just by looking at the screen. Each room requires you to complete 2 of these minigames before the power to them comes back online. The boss of this night is Rowan Rat, a character that will be introduced next night. Throughout the night, you will hear a distinct sound cue. When you do, you have to turn around and flash your flashlight at him. Behind you, there are 4 large holes in the wall, and there's no telling which one he'll pop out of. Once you flash him, he quickly leaves and you're free to continue. Once you restore power to 3 of the 6 rooms, Rowan becomes enraged. While enraged, he will attack more frequently, you will have less time to flash him, and he will require you to flash him twice. After flashing him the first time, he will crawl back into his hole and appear out of another one. Out of all the post-night minigames, this one is definitely my favorite. The flow of how it plays, mixed with it probably being the least stressful, is really refreshing with how fast my heart was typically beating throughout the game. After getting the power to all the rooms back online, it's on to Thursday. Before Thursday night, however, when walking out of the building, Nick finds a tape, and you get the choice of whether or not you want to pick it up. As far as I'm aware, picking it up doesn't change the gameplay, and there's not multiple endings to this game. If you pick up the tape, you get some lore and foreshadowing. If you don't, you just move on. I picked up the tape because I'm a Chad gamer. Putting in the tape, it doesn't seem to play anything, so Nick goes to bed. But as soon as he leaves, the tape begins to play. We're told that the Pal Percy toy is being recalled. We're told it poses significant threats to children, but it's not elaborated on. People are told to return the toy to whichever store they bought it from, but since Nick went to bed and never saw this, he will still continue to use his pal Percy during the nights. On Thursday night, we're introduced to the previously mentioned Rowan Rat, and we get a new tool for us to stress over. This night was by far the most confusing for me, since I didn't understand what the tutorial was telling me, but let me explain. In your cameras, you will find that you have a new subsection. It's a motion detector for cameras 1 through 4. Which are the cameras for each corner of the establishment. You will need to check these motion detectors throughout the night to see if Rowan Rat has moved. If he moves to a specific camera, which you can tell because the camera in the motion sensor section will turn red, you will have to go to the actual corresponding camera and use one of your shocks on Rowan to reset him. In addition to this, if that wasn't enough to make you want to die from anxiety, that small Percy that opens your door will now also occasionally spawn in one of your cameras. When he does, you'll have to find him and navigate to the camera he's on and stare at him until he goes away. If you don't do this in time, he will disable the camera system, stopping you from being able to shock Rowan, which will obviously lead to you dying. Now for the part that should have been obvious that I didn't understand. The tutorial states that you need to watch out for an alert icon on the EUI. When you press E in game, this opens up your camera. When you see that alert, that's how you know that you need to go find the mini Percy on your cameras. I thought this meant that the alert would appear on my camera. That it does not. Instead, it appears right above the little E button in the corner of your screen. Again, I'm really dumb for not figuring this out immediately, but this is hands down the most stressful mechanic the game has introduced so far. And in mixture with everything else you have to deal with and the constant overwhelming noise that you'll be hearing, it gets really fucking anxiety inducing. Don't believe me about the noise? This is what the night sounds like throughout its entirety. Yeah, it's pretty ass. But after completing your task, we can move on to the Thursday post-night minigame. In this minigame, your task is fixing Farmer Felix. After opening up his head, you're greeted with 4 small sub-minigames to complete. Each is pretty simple, you can do them in any order, but I did them from top to bottom. The first one is the gear game. You just have to match up each of 4 colored gears to the small brackets. Do this 3 times and the game is finished. The second minigame sucks really hard, mainly because I'm stupid and didn't understand it right away. You're given 2 boards, each with the beginning and end of a sentence. You have to swap through different options until you have a complete sentence that makes sense. After doing that a few times, the game is finished. I really hated this one since it made no sense to me and took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out. You can watch my full playthrough on my second channel, Dxtr Black, by the way. Before talking about the other 2 minigames, the boss of this night surprisingly isn't Farmer Felix. Instead, it's 2 small Percy poodles. While you're working on Felix, occasionally you hear a sound cue. When you do, you'll have to back up and find one or both of the poodles in the room and click on them to make them go away. Once you complete 2 of the 4 sub-minigames, the poodles become enraged. While enraged, they will appear more frequently and require you to click them twice rather than just once. Not too bad, honestly. The third minigame consists of spinning a crank on the bottom of the screen to fill this white bar. If you wind the crank too much, Felix will overheat. I didn't let this happen, so I don't know what happens if you do. I'd have to imagine you either die or you have to wait a while to be able to continue. When you're not cranking, the white bar will slowly decrease. Once the bar is full, the game finishes. The final minigame is just Simon Says. Beat a few levels, and it's finished. And with that, we're done with the post night and can move on to Friday night. Friday night adds nothing new to the gameplay loop, just increases the difficulty of every character we've seen thus far. After completing your tasks, we can move on to the final post-night minigame. Friday's post-night minigame is us fixing up Percy. We open up his stomach and play 3 small minigames. The first is just matching these colored knobs to the colors of their corresponding wires. Do this 3 times and we move on to the next. The second game requires us to flip 8 switches. Every few seconds, any number of them can unflip, and we'll have to flip them again. Do this until the bar fills up and we move on to the next. The final game requires us to watch 3 squares. The moment they turn green, we have to quickly click on them. Do this a few times, and we can finally get to Percy's battery. I have no idea why there's so many security measures to get to this point, and why they're all so simple a toddler could perform them. It seems pretty counterintuitive. But before anything else happens, Percy's battery begins to smoke. We call our boss and tell him what's happening. Our boss says we either need to replace his battery or find a substitute battery. Not knowing what to do, Nick puts the pal Percy inside of Percy in place of his battery, and it works. Hooray! And with that, the credits roll. In all honesty, this game is super unique and enjoyable. I really like how each night feels different from every other, and how... Wait, what the fuck? Oh yeah, that's right, baby. Final boss fight time. The pal Percy took over Percy's body and spread wires throughout the building. We run and hide in a storage closet. We find an early version of a pal Percy, and luckily for us, it's hooked up to the power. Just like in previous nights, we have to play 3 minigames to fill up the bar. When we fill up the bar, we will be given a charge. We're told that after getting 5 charges, we'll beat pal. Since this is an early version, the 3 minigames are different from the ones we've gotten used to. Let's quickly go over the 3 new ones. The first game requires us to match up 3 rows of shapes. Pretty easy, but trust me, with how stressful this night gets, even something as simple as this task can become a nightmare. The second game requires us to move Percy through a maze. This one is my favorite as it was always the least stressful for me to complete. The third game makes me want to get bucked by a fucking horse, however. This game requires you to catch a number of fish. This game is only stressful because of how long it takes. When you press space, your line will slowly drop to the bottom of the screen and then slowly come all the way back up. I hate this game so much. Along with that, all of the antagonists are different on this night, so throw all the knowledge you've memorized thus far out the fucking window. As the night goes on, more characters will be added to the night, but rather than explain exactly when each character is introduced in order, I'll just pretend like they're all active right out of the gate, like they would be at the end of the night, and explain them one by one. It makes most sense to talk about the pal Percy that we created first. In the closet, there are these two monitors. Occasionally, these monitors will tell you to find me. This is pal Percy giving you direct orders. When you see this message, you have to open up your camera and find which room Percy is in. When you do, you will see him showing you a toy. You will then have to go to one of the other cameras to find whichever specific toy he showed. Once you find it and click on it, his attack is over. This alone is stressful enough, but we are just getting started. Next, let's talk about this stupid fucking little Percy. He has two different attacks. Let's go over his most simple one first. In the closet, you can see these two rolling carts. At any time, you can drag them out. If the little Percy appears, you have to use the cart that's on whatever side he's on and slam it into him, which literally kills it, so I guess there's just multiple of these fucks. His second attack thankfully has a cue. You'll be able to tell he's attacking because your vision will turn to horseshit. When it does, you have to find him on the cameras and stare at him. If you don't, he will disable your ability to move the rolling carts. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what this next enemy is, but occasionally you will see and hear banging on either side of the closet. When you do, you have to hold the rolling cart in front of said wall until the banging stops. We're not done yet. Don't worry, there's still way more to keep track of. By the way, did I tell you that there's a time limit this time? Yeah. If you don't complete the minigames on the PAL fast enough, the PAL itself will fucking kill you. This game will not give my nuts a second to breathe, just constant quaking for those poor little guys.
Trust me, when you fire this game up, your little fucking nuts are gonna start quaking, buddy. Your little nuts are gonna be quaking.
But that's still not enough for this game, no! Let's make it even more stressful. These little tiny pals the game calls roaches will climb out of the hole in the ceiling, and will sometimes show up in your vision. When they do, you have to drag them quickly to the bottom of your screen to throw them away. If you don't, you fucking die. Do you think we're done? Yeah? Well, you're fucking wrong. Not yet. The pal Percy that we substituted for Percy's battery will sometimes crawl out of him and go to one of the corner rooms. Thank God he gives a sound cue for when he does this. When he does, you'll have to open your camera and find which room he's in and shock him. This night is so fucking loud that half of the time I missed his sound cue. I died more to this guy than anyone else on this night. Still not done yet, there's even more. At some points in the night, Percy will charge full speed at your door. When he does, you have to hold the door closed until he stops banging on it. And finally, that's it. After getting all 5 charges, we finally beat the game. Psych, fucking idiot. Pal is really mad, and you're forced to get one last charge while even more mechanics are thrown at you on top of what you already have to deal with. Now, if you look at those screens again in the closet, sometimes Percy's stupid face will appear. When it does, all you have to do is click on it. Don't forget, this is on top of every other mechanic I've just explained, as well as you still having to do those minigames and that stupid fish one that takes 12 years to complete. Ready for another goddamn mechanic? I sure am. Again, our genius battery solution will occasionally come into the closet and take up about 80% of our screen. When he does, we have to play a quick minigame with him. He shows 3 cups and puts a ball under one of them. The cups shuffle around, very fucking slowly, and we have to pick the cup the ball is under, and then he'll go away. Again, this is on top of everything else we have to deal with. And once you get this final charge, do you think the game's over? Nope. Instead, the game says, fuck you. Survive for 60 more seconds as we increase the difficulties on the animatronics by about 136,000%. Lamau, sick idiot. But after those 60 seconds, it's over. And that's really it this time. I promise. This night took up, I'm not joking, about 50% of my playtime in this game. Holy shit, it's so fucking hard. I actually almost gave up, but thankfully, I got over the major salt I was throwing and beat it. If you want to watch me get pretty salty at this section, again, you can see my full playthrough on Dxtr Black. After finishing, pal Percy comes to the door and tells us that we can be his best friend forever. Nick says, and then Pal gets all pissy and says he's gonna kill us. But before he can, a wrecking ball slams through the wall, which knocks Pal out of Percy's body. With Pal no longer having a body to control, he's pretty useless and lies on the floor like a sad sack of lard. Our boss calls us over as the building gets demolished and the game finally comes to a close. I think most people would agree with me when I say the Five Nights at Freddy's formula can get stale really fast, and with the ungodly amount of FNAF fan games out there, it's only making the genre feel more bloated and full of bad acts. However, sometimes a fan game appears from the poop and pee infested FNAF category on Game Jolt and really opens my eyes and shows me something super creative that I've never seen before. Enter Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese, a game made by the Radiance team. Yes, the same team that brought us the amazing Treasure Island remakes. For this video, note I will be talking about the reboot, as that's the one I played. Before we start, I'd like to say thank you to all of you who watched my Garden of Bam Bam video. I just started this channel, and 3 days after that video was released, it already passed 100 views, so thanks for that. Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese begins with us reading a note that we will be covering somebody named Sue's night shifts for the week because she's having some family issues. I'm not sure how taking shifts works for all jobs, but I feel like in most cases you can only cover someone's shift if you worked the same shift they do. And from the way the phone guy character talks to us, it sure seems like we're not from the night shift originally like Sue is. Maybe I'm wrong and this point was stupid, and if that's the case then please ignore that. Night 1 begins and we're greeted with one of the coolest office designs I've ever seen. In front of us we have a desk with a lamp on it, some pins, a newspaper, a toy car, and a large monitor. Typically in FNAF games and fan games, the characters can be found immediately on the cameras. A lot of the time characters will spawn on some sort of show stage like in the originals, however, this game chooses to do something completely different, and I love it. Behind our desk, we see what appears to be pictures of all the characters hanging on the wall, but no, those are not pictures, those are the actual characters standing right in front of us. We know this because as the characters begin to move, we are no longer able to see them in front of us. When I first played through this game and I couldn't see anyone on the cameras, I was really confused, but then Chucky disappeared from what I thought was a picture frame. It terrified me, and I think this is one of the most creative things I've ever seen a FNAF fan game do. Night 1 isn't too difficult, only having Chucky being active. He'll move around the cameras until he reaches the only door to your office, which is behind you. Before I show you this door, I just want to say how fucking cool this is. Not only do we get the comfort of knowing which characters are active and knowing which ones we have to worry about right now because of the stage in front of us. Now, the game is actively forcing us to turn our backs to these characters, which we know are quite literally feet away from us. Before Chucky gets to the door behind you, I said he moves around your cameras. Unlike Five Nights at Freddy's, where the animatronics show up on the cameras and can easily be found, and typically don't really seem to know the cameras are there, the animatronics in Five Nights at Chucky's know that the cameras are on and that you are watching them. Because of this, you'll see a lot of the characters often crouch down and duck behind things, almost like they're hiding and hoping you don't see them. This is such an amazing and creepy touch that it just makes the demeanor of the characters all the more scary. It seems like they're very much conscious and are capable of making their own decisions. When Chucky gets to your door, he does something a little different than the usual FNAF character would. Rather than just standing at the door, again, when you flash your flashlight into the doorway, Chucky is crouched down. And if it wasn't for a sound cue he made, you might actually miss that he's there. Since there's not just one state that he can be in, he'll actually hide in multiple areas in your doorway in hopes that you don't see him. Side note, as I was doing research for this game and writing the script, I learned something about the animatronics in this game. I said the characters crouch down, but that isn't exactly true. Turns out the characters perform in these small boxes that we see in our office and are never actually supposed to be able to move around. Because of this, the animatronics don't actually have legs, so no, the characters aren't crouching in the cameras, they're actually dragging themselves around in order to get to you, which actually makes the situation you're in all the more horrifying. Anyways, when Chucky appears in your doorway, you have to close what this game calls the gate. It's very similar to the normal FNAF doors, but a little different. Rather than just punching a button and having the doors close, you have to pull and hold down this lever to close the gate. But it doesn't close immediately. You're forced to sit and watch the gate slowly close, knowing that a very dangerous threat is only feet away from you. This thought alone makes an act that should be simple and thoughtless feel incredibly intense. I said that Chucky has a sound cue for when he appears at your doorway, but it's actually multiple sound cues that will play at random whenever he arrives. Now, you may be asking, what's the sound cue he makes when he leaves? Well, if this situation wasn't already butthole puckering enough, Chucky makes no sound cue letting you know he's left your doorway, and you can't flash your light when the gate is down. Meaning in order to check if he's still there, you have to let go of the lever and flash your light, leaving yourself vulnerable to attack. This whole system has been designed so well, I don't really have the words to describe how much I like it. Dealing with Chucky is terrifying almost every time you have to do it, and that's saying a lot considering how often he shows up at your door. On the upside, there's no power, so you can hold down your gate and use your cameras as much as you'd like with no need to worry. Once the time hits 6 AM, the night is over, and we move on to the second gameplay loop this game has to offer, the storage segment. The storage segment is a small minigame that plays in between each night. The idea is exactly the same as the plush trap minigame from FNAF 4, allowing the player to skip 2 hours of the next night, which in this game, trust me, is very helpful, as this game did not ask for consent before it railed me in the ass. Maybe I'm just really bad at FNAF games, but this game is actually really hard. Anyways, the post-night requires you to find a certain number of items on a large shelf, while a character named Krusty the Cat stalks you from behind. Krusty will play a sound cue every now and then notifying you of his location, and you'll have to turn around and flash him with your light to make him go away. When he does, he'll play one of an assortment of sound cues. After collecting all the items, the post-night is over and the next night can begin. Before I talk about night 2 though, I want to talk about how amazing and creepy the character designs in this game are. Garden of Banban, take note. I'm not going to go through each character, but look at Chucky. Words cannot describe how disgusting he looks in a good way. He looks like he would be very damp. He's grungy and dirty, which really works well in the environment that you see him in, as the set designs in this game are actually a masterpiece. Each area gives off its own unsettling and disturbing vibes while also tying into each other very seamlessly. This is one of the few FNAF fan games where I didn't feel like the devs were trying to replicate the style of sets that the original FNAF games had. While it definitely shared similarities, I don't feel like they were trying to copy Scott's art style. I truly can't give enough praise to how much I love these designs. Getting to night 2, we're introduced to 2 new characters, Jasper Jowls and the Costume. Let's talk about Jasper first. After Jasper leaves the stage, he will wander around the cameras until he attacks you. You might notice that on night 2, a stage call switch appears on your desk. When Jasper attacks you, he will appear in front of you like the withered animatronics from FNAF 2. When he does, you hold the stage call switch, which will make Jasper go back to his stage. That doesn't sound terribly difficult, and it isn't. However, the characters in this game a lot of the time will actually wait and attack you at the same time rather than attacking you as soon as they can. As difficult as this makes the game, I love it. It really makes you feel like the animatronics are working together to try to ambush you. This game does a really good job at making you feel outnumbered, unprepared, and vulnerable. Now let's talk about the costume. The costume is, well, a fucking costume. It's the suit that Chuck E. Cheese workers walk around the pizzeria in, playing as Chucky. However, unlike the animatronics, there should be no wiring in him since he's a costume, so I've always wondered how he's moving around. Anyways, he'll appear on camera 4, and it's your job to keep a very close eye on him. The costume can't move if you're looking at him, and once he moves to another location in the building, there's no way to make him go back. Once he gets to your doorway, just like Chucky, you'll have to close the gate. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say you closed the gate to keep him out? I apologize because he won't let you. This single moment right here is the reason why I chose to make a video on this game. The actual fear I got when I first saw this while playing left a mark on me that no other FNAF game, or any horror game for that matter, ever has. The costume will never kill you. He'll just stand outside of your office and prevent you from ever being able to close the gate. The most terrifying part is he's playing with you. He knows he's stronger than the door is, so he'll let you get the gate about halfway closed before forcing it all the way open. Then he'll let you pull it halfway down again, and he'll do this forever. He will never go away. He doesn't care about your flashlight, and he doesn't care about the stage call. He's toying with you, letting you know that no matter what, Chucky is coming, and when he does, I'm not going to let you keep him out. This is the coolest thing in a FNAF game I have ever seen, and I wish more of them would do interesting and surprising things like this. I could talk about the costume all day, but let's move on to Night 3. On Night 3, we're introduced to Mr. Munch. Mr. Munch will occasionally leave his stage and appear on one of the cameras. When he does, you have only a small amount of time to figure out which camera he's on. Once you find it, he'll go back to his stage. His mechanics alone are super simple to deal with, but now we actively have a character that prevents us from looking at the costume. Since there's no power, and Chucky and Jasper both have sound cues for when they're attacking, I'd just sit on camera 4 and watch the costume until one of their sound cues played. This made it so that the costume almost never had a chance to move, but with the addition of Mr. Munch, now there's a character that actively forces me to look away and give the costume time to move around. This is such a simple mechanic that was executed beautifully. Honestly, the Radiance team is so talented, I can't wait for their future projects. Night 4 introduces Helen Henny. If the way these characters behaved didn't make you feel like they were working together to catch you already, then Helen will definitely make you think that way. Helen works almost the same way as Jasper. Once she leaves her stage, she'll move around the cameras before attacking you in your office. However, rather than standing in front of you, Helen will only appear when you're looking at the door. She almost exclusively attacks at the same time as Chucky, so after you deal with him, you turn around to find no one. This is because Helen doesn't stand in front of you when she attacks. She'll stand right on either side of your office, and since for a majority of the game, everything you need to touch is in the middle of your screen, you actually can't see Helen when she's in your office unless you go out of your way to check both sides. This is such a cool fucking mechanic. Even though she does the same thing Jasper does, she does it in such a unique and different way, it might as well be a completely different mechanic. If Radiance didn't already have enough praise from me, this right here adds even more. Night 5 introduces, in my opinion, the most disappointing character in the main game, Pasquale. He's not disappointing because of his design, quite the opposite. I think his design is actually one of the best. It's disappointing because of his mechanic. Compared to the other characters in the main game, Pasquale is pretty boring when it comes to how he plays. At some point of the night, when you lower your camera, he may twitch for 3 seconds. When he does, you have to do a stage call. If you don't do that in time, he leaves his stage for a brief moment and then jump scares you. That's it. He doesn't move around the cameras and he doesn't team up with another character. He just feels so out of place. It feels like he was just a filler character because 5 stage characters are more interesting than 4. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe people think Pasquale is the best character in this game, but to me he just seems so underwhelming compared to how interesting and unique the rest of the characters are. And there we go. That's the completed main game. Of course, there's still more to talk about, but I just want to say how amazing of an experience the main game is to play. Night 5 alone took me about half an hour to beat. It's super hard, but I think that suits the game perfectly. Never in my playthrough of the main game did I feel like I lost because of RNG. It always felt like I was just outsmarted by the animatronics, which is what I think Radiance was going for, or at least is what I hope they were going for. They did a fantastic job at crafting this game, and even with how disappointed I was with Pasquale's mechanics, I still think overall the main game is a masterpiece. Now we can start talking about the challenges in this game. Rather than going over each of them, I'm just going to talk about True Nightmare mode, this game's all 20 mode. I'll admit it here and say I myself did not beat True Nightmare, so for this segment, all gameplay you see will be from Shooter25, one of the most talented FNAF challenge runners of all time. Which is why you'll see this mouse icon on the side of the screen. It's something Shooter adds to his videos, and I think they're a really nice touch. Good job, Shooter. The fact you were able to complete this is astonishing. Let's go over each new character that is added in this mode alphabetically. The first new character is Dolly Dimples. She will appear in front of the player and sing. You have to hold down the control button to prevent her from deactivating your stage call switch. I love the idea of another character preventing you from doing something you need to do. I love how Mr. Munch prevents you from looking at the costume, and I love how the costume prevents you from closing the gate. So a character preventing you from using the stage call switch, in my opinion, is a great addition. However, I wish the way she prevents it made for a more interesting game mechanic. I totally understand there's not a whole lot of ways to add new unique mechanics in a game that doesn't have a whole lot of options, but I feel like the Radiance team could have thought of something a little bit more interesting than just another music box mechanic. However, this is a challenge mode, and for that reason, I'm not going to give this game much shit for it. Modern Chucky is another character added in the challenges. He works almost exactly the same as normal Chucky does. He'll make his way to your door and play a sound cue. Then you'll have to close the gate until he goes away. However, I actually think Modern Chucky is a lot easier to deal with than regular Chucky is. Now, I know I said I never beat True Nightmare, but I did pour about 2 hours of attempts in. First off, Modern Chucky plays a sound cue when he leaves, unlike regular Chucky, so that alone makes him a little easier. But he's always faster than regular Chucky is. You might think that would make him harder, but it really doesn't. On True Nightmare mode, his time to kill is 6 seconds, and that speeds up as you're closing the gate. Unlike regular Chucky, Modern Chucky doesn't care how far the gate is closed. He just cares if the gate is closed or closing when his kill timer ends. Which means, yes, he will leave even if the gate has only been closing for half a second. I understand why he's like this, because if he wasn't, beating him would be almost impossible, but it doesn't make sense that he'll give up even if the door is still open enough to the point where he wouldn't even have to crouch to be able to get in, but that's nitpicky. The next character is Munch Jr., and well, he's a character alright. By far my least favorite character in the whole game, simply because his mechanic, I feel, is the laziest. Munch Jr. will randomly appear in your office sometimes, and when he does, you'll have to find him and click on him. If you don't click him fast enough, the next time you lower the camera, his stupid fat ass will sit on it and prevent you from opening it again, meaning Mr. Munch will absolutely eat your ass next time he attacks, and the costume will be free to fuck with your door as much as he wants. I don't think I really have to explain why this mechanic is so underwhelming, so I won't. And finally, we have the bear. The bear will start on the other side of the gate, slumped over. He will stay there until he decides to attack. He attacks by just standing up. Surprising, considering this guy is jumbo-sized. When he stands up, you have to flash your flashlight at him until he sits his fat ass back down. Not doing so in time will result in... You want to take a guess? Want to take a wild stab? What's that? Huh? Oh yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. He fucking kills ya. Overall, another mechanic I'm not super wowed by, but again, I understand that they were adding characters to the gameplay loop from the main game, and that, in terms of adding new characters, there wasn't a whole lot of options for them, so again, not going to give them a whole lot of shit. And those are all the characters the challenges add, and yes, I do mean add. After beating the game, you actually don't have access to all these characters right away. Just like FNAF 2, there are multiple pre-made custom nights that you can play. After beating each one, you unlock one of the characters I mentioned previously, which I think is actually a really cool addition and is another example of how this fan game stands out from all the others. After beating True Nightmare mode, a cutscene plays. You're greeted to Costume, who grabs his face and takes his mask off, revealing a mirror showing what I can only imagine is Fred Andrews, the character you play as. Afterwards, it fades to black and the game ends.
One of my favorite genres of games is roguelikes. I also, as I'm sure you could have guessed, really like Five Nights at Freddy's games. I've only built a whole career off of it, so I'm sure you could have figured that out. So I bet you can imagine my pleasant surprise when I was told that there was a Five Nights at Freddy's game that was also a roguelike. The moment I learned of this, I downloaded it as fast as I could and started filming videos because I just knew even before playing it that it was going to be getting a Dxtr White video, and here we are now. You guys know what game I'm talking about. You can see the length of this video. I very clearly like this game a lot. So sit back, relax, and join me as we dive into the chaotic world of Too Many Nights. Unlike most FNAF games, Too Many Nights doesn't follow any storyline or the typical FNAF formula. Instead, it acts as an endless minigame that doesn't stop until you fail. Although I'm sure you already knew that, considering everyone on Earth has played a roguelike before. At the start of each run, you will get to pick a character, of which there are many. Each character gives you a different set of abilities, with each having a list of pro and cons. You don't start with all of them and will have to gradually unlock them by doing specific tasks. I'll go over them in a bit. After picking a character, you will have to select 3 animatronics to put into the pizzeria. And this is where this game gets brilliant. You get to choose 3 animatronics yourself. The game will never choose them for you, and your initial choices will be random at the start of each run. However, if you really don't like your starting options, you can press R to re-roll your first pick as much as you'd like. As I'm sure you could have guessed, there are several animatronics in Too Many Nights. Each has a unique mechanic, and it will be up to you to plan out which animatronics you bring along, and control how they will be forced to interact with each other. Each animatronic falls into a certain category. You have your door animatronics, your camera animatronics, your mask animatronics, your vent animatronics, your flashlight animatronics, and what I'm going to call your nuisance animatronics. Each of these categories serves its own purpose, and generally speaking, picking multiple animatronics from the same category will make your gameplay experience easier. Before I really start talking about the characters, I'd like to explain the rest of the experience of a run. To start, after selecting your first 3 animatronics, the run will begin. After completing a night, you will be forced to add 1 new character. Every few nights, you will also be forced to add a penalty. These penalties fall into 2 categories: your general penalties and your character penalties. I'll dive into each of these later as well. After selecting a penalty, you may get the chance to go to the shop and buy some items. Throughout the night, you will gain Faz coins from successfully defending yourself from the animatronics. Once again, I will get into these items later. Keep repeating this process until you eventually die, and boom, that's the gameplay loop of Too Many Nights. Of course, that was a very oversimplified explanation. So now we're going to dive into each of the animatronics, how they work, and to keep it interesting, I'll even throw each character into a tier list so that you can all argue about it in the comments. I'm just going to go down the list that appears on the wiki, and be prepared, there are a lot of animatronics. Editor, I'd say I'm sorry for what you're about to have to do, but that would be a lie. Let's go. Freddy is a camera animatronic, aka my personal least favorite type of animatronic. Freddy will start on stage and make his way towards your right door. All you have to do is occasionally stare at him on the cameras to make him go backwards. I'm sure you can guess why I'm not going to like a majority of these camera animatronics. If he ever reaches your door, he will never leave, and you'll be forced to keep it closed for the rest of the night or die. Freddy also has 5 penalties that have the option to be chosen when you have to select a penalty. The first is Mad Freddy, which will make you have to look at Freddy longer to make him go backwards. His second penalty is Branched, which gives him a chance to be able to attack your left door as well. And when you're playing this game, you will very quickly fall into a pattern, so having a character be able to switch up on you like this would very obviously throw you off. Stare Down is another Freddy penalty. This one is horrific. It makes Freddy never move backwards. Staring at him will only stall him. However, to compensate, he moves a lot slower, and the camera doesn't have to be up for you to be able to stall him. Invisifreddy is a penalty that I'm sure you could take a solid guess at what it does. That's right, it makes him fucking invisible. Isn't that great? Sure, a sound cue is added to his movements, but fuck that. That just sounds like AIDS. Finally, we have Nuh-uh, a penalty that's just so silly. When Freddy gets to your door, he will prevent the door from ever closing again throughout the rest of the night. Isn't that awesome? No, it isn't? Yeah, I know. Don't choose this one if you can help it. Overall, I'm not a fan of Freddy, but without penalties, he isn't the worst character in this game, so I'm going to give him a C tier. Bonnie is a door character, aka a character I usually like to pick. Bonnie starts on stage and makes his way to your left door. Once there, a sound cue will play, and you'll have to close the door and stare at him on the camera until he goes away. Then you can open the door again. Incredibly easy character, however he does have 3 penalties. Cutting is a penalty that makes both Bonnie and Chica take shorter paths to your doors. Because of how easy both of them are to deal with, this penalty isn't too bad. Quiet Steps makes Bonnie and Chica not make sound cues while at your door, so yeah, fuck that. No other words need to be said. And finally, Flip Side is a penalty that will make Bonnie and Chica swap doors immediately after leaving the first door. Easily the second worst penalty these two have. Speaking of Bonnie and Chica, Chica is literally identical to Bonnie, except she attacks the right door instead of the left. And because of this, and how quick I am to pick these two, I'm putting both of them in S tier. Foxy isn't the worst character I've seen, but I did avoid choosing him for a very long time. Foxy will try to leave his stage in the ticket booth. Have your camera on him to stall him. If you don't, he'll charge at your door and bang on it, and make you lose a poop sock full of power. Foxy has 3 penalties and 1 item, which is pretty cool. Insta-Foxy is a penalty that will cause Foxy to instantly start in his last phase at the start of a night. This penalty actually isn't that bad at all, just let him charge right away and it's like the penalty isn't even there anymore. Hen House is a penalty that forces the camera to be up to stall Foxy, which actually is the most cancerous thing I've ever heard of. Haywire is the final penalty, which will make him attack your other door directly after attacking the first door. The only bad part about this is that him banging on your door drains power. And the item that Foxy has is called Good Guy, which makes Foxy not a threat. Looking at him will make him progress, and when he comes to your office, he'll give you a nice little gift like a good boy. Because of how much of a non-issue he is if you balance him properly with the other characters, I'm putting him in B tier. Mangle is a vent animatronic, and she's honestly not that big of a problem. She'll move through the cameras into one of your vents. All you have to do is put your mask on when she's in a vent. She will enter the office for a short period and then leave. I personally hate having to use the mask in this game, so I try my best to avoid characters that force that, but Mangle is probably the easiest of them. Mangle does have 3 penalties. Anger Management is a penalty that makes looking at Mangle speed her up. Aggressive Mangle is a penalty that makes Mangle force you to put the mask on for longer. And finally, Slithering In is a penalty that causes looking at Mangle in the vents to make her immediately appear in your office. Overall, I hate the mask mechanic. However, Mangle isn't the worst mask character in the game, so I'm giving her a C tier. Caroline, or the Marionette, behaves exactly how you'd expect her to. She's a music box. Hooray! Who could have expected that? If the music box winds down, for the rest of the night she will randomly teleport to a camera with a sound cue at random intervals. You will have to find her and stare at her if you don't want her to kill you. She does, however, have a whopping 6 fucking penalties, so that's just amazing. Let's go over all of them quickly. Winding down makes you have to wind the music box for longer. Moving box makes the music box move to a random camera every time you pull the camera down. AIDS. Muted music makes her not make a sound cue when she teleports to a camera. Show Stealer gives you less time to find her while she's away from the music box. Last Stand is really ass, by the way. When it turns 6 a.m., Caroline will teleport to a random camera, and the night will only end once you find her.
Dude, there's nothing I can do about that. I can't do anything about that. That's just fucking cooked, bro. I can't do nothing about that.
And finally, the worst penalty yet, Caroline Carousel, which will make her be away from the music box the entire night. Genuinely, never pick this penalty. Caroline is definitely annoying, but in all honesty, the music box is pretty forgiving until much later nights. So, because of this, I'm only putting her in D tier. Lizzie is the first non-FNAF canon character we'll be talking about. Fun fact, there are a lot of non-canon characters, but I think that's what adds to this game's charm. Lizzie herself isn't actually the threat. She spawns down bitty buds in your office while your camera is up. Simply hold your flashlight on them and they'll disappear. If there are too many, they'll call Lizzie and she will then kill you. Lizzie has 2 different penalties as well. Speedy Bud will make the bitty buds call Lizzie to your office faster, and Help Wanted will turn the brightly colored bitty buds into dark colored plush Lizzies, which are much harder to see in the very purple office. Lizzie is one of my favorite characters to see in my runs. I love flashlight characters, and I really love office characters. So because of this, I'm giving her S tier. BB is a bitch, but I'm sure you didn't need me to tell you that. And of course, they gave him the worst mechanic of all time. At random times, he will teleport to a random camera with a sound cue.
Hello?
You will have to find which camera he's on and hold the flashlight on him.
Bye-bye.
If that wasn't bad enough, his penalties make him even worse. Mute BB makes him not make a sound cue, which is actually just fucking torment. Don't pick this. I'm Moving will make him teleport to a second camera after you find him the first time. Little asshole. And Aggressive BB will force you to hold the light on him for longer. Literally, fuck that. I'm sure from the tone in my voice, you can tell I really don't like BB, so because of that, I'm obviously giving him an F tier. Sparky the dog is a camera character that makes me piss blood. He's in the storage room and has 4 phases he will move through before appearing in your office and forcing you to put the mask on for a decently long time. To prevent this, all you have to do is stare at him on the cameras, something I've already made clear I'm not a super huge fan of. He also has 3 penalties if your urine wasn't already red enough. Mad Sparky will force you to look at him on the cameras for longer to push him back. Sparky Speedy will make Sparky move faster, obviously. and aggressive Sparky will make you put the mask on longer if he enters the office. I don't like camera characters. I hate the idea of staring at a character to stop them. D tier. Percy Poodle, yes, from Playtime with Percy, is easily one of the best characters in the game. Being an office flashlight animatronic, all he does is have multiple faces in front of the big office window. He'll start pounding on the glass in his final phase, and you'll then have to hold the flashlight on him to make him go back. He also only has 2 penalties, and both of them really aren't that bad. Aggressive Percy will make him only go back to his last stage the first time you deal with him, but only the first time, so who cares? And Mute Percy makes him make no sound cue when he's pounding on the glass, so just open your eyes and this won't be a problem. Percy is simple. Percy is always an easy pick. S tier. Rowan Rat, on the other hand, is actual fucking torment. At random times, he will appear in any of the 4 corners of the building. When you see him in one, shock him and he'll go away. You will also have the ability to use a radar to detect where he is and where he's going. Oh yeah, and you only have a certain number of shocks, so that's just terrible. He has 4 possible penalties, and all of them are worse than death. Aggressive Rowan gives you less time to shock him. No radar removes the fucking radar, making you constantly have to check all 4 corners yourself. Less shocks obviously gives you less shocks, as the name would suggest. And Invisi-Rowan makes him fucking invisible. Fuck that. Never in a million years am I picking that shitty option. Rowan by himself isn't the worst, but if you get any of his penalties, which will happen eventually, he becomes a nightmare. So I'm putting him in D tier. Maple is almost a good character, but because it's not the only character you'll be up against, it's hard to find it as an attractive pick. At the beginning of each night, it will require you to collect a certain amount of plushies. This number increases with its AI value. You will then have to search around the cameras for these plushies. If you don't find them all before 6 AM, it'll kill you. Amazing mechanic, but again, it's not the only one, so it's really just more of a pain in the ass. It does have 3 penalties. What are those? Well, Early Killer will have it check if you have the plushies at 5 AM rather than 6. Hidden Counter will literally just make it not tell you how many plushies you need to find, which is bullshit. And Restock will add a timer to how fast you need to find the plushies. If you don't find them in time, it'll re-hide all the plushies again, forcing you to find them all in pretty much one go. Again, it's not the worst, but can easily get out of control on later nights when you start to only focus on certain cameras while it has the large plushie counter. So I'm going to give it a C tier. Noelle is another very interesting character that easily has the chance to be forgotten about. When you start the night, a pair of scissors will appear on a random camera. At complete random, Noelle can appear in the office with a sound cue. When it does, you need to find the scissors and click them to make it go away. The scissors will then teleport to another random camera. If you don't click the scissors, it'll force you to put the mask on for a few seconds, which is a long time in this game. Noelle, of course, has 3 penalties. Pull down will make it forcefully pull down the camera when it enters your office, which could honestly be seen as a good thing. Bro, that's not okay. I fucked myself. Having the force pull down from Noelle mixed with the Roby absolutely fucking creamed my ass, dude. Aggressive Noelle is terrible. When it enters your office, if you click any camera aside from the one with the scissors, it will immediately make you put the mask on. And Crazed Teddy will cause it to insta-kill you instead of putting the mask on. A certain item does affect Noelle, however. If you have Chill Pill, you will get 4 additional seconds to put the mask on when it attacks you, which is a lot of time in this game. I'm not a huge fan of Noelle, especially not when it has Aggressive on, so because of this, I'm going to put it in C tier. Melatonin is a real bitch of a character. It moves around the cameras, but it's invisible when it does. You'll hear it laughing in one of your ears, and on the 3rd laugh, you'll have to close the door of whichever side it's on until you hear it leave. It has 2 penalties that just serve as the salt in the wound as well. Switch Up is easily the worst. Before it moves, you'll have to check the dining room to see a counter for how many laughs it'll have before attacking, now being randomized from 2 to 4. Unplanned only makes its first laugh on the correct side, needing you to remember which side it was originally on. I don't like characters that I can't see. I also find it really hard to keep a timer in your head like you need to do with Melatonin, so because of this, I'm putting it in D tier. Lydia is a dog. She'll be in the ticket booth in a fucking cage where she belongs. When you hear her banging on the cage, you'll have to take her out like Ol Yeller. Just kidding, you actually just have to hold the cage until that dumb mutt shuts up. The wiki for some reason doesn't have a page for her, and since I avoided her at all costs, I actually never experienced any of her penalties. But if I had to guess, I'd bet one of them makes you hold her cage for longer and another makes her not make noise when she's attacking. But going off of how I know her to be with no penalties, I'm going to put her in C tier. Amber is a character that at first didn't seem too bad, but will very quickly become a run killer. She begins at the entrance. At random times, she'll hold up a playing card with a suit on it. You will then have to click the corresponding suit on the cameras or she'll kill you. The 2 penalties she has might actually be the most evil ones in the entire game. Follow suit will give her the ability to have more than 1 card, and 52 pickup will make that number of cards she can hold literally be any number, which is so retarded I can't even begin to explain why you shouldn't pick this, so just don't. I thought Amber would be great, but I very quickly started to avoid her whenever I could. C tier. CG is annoying, a nuisance character, but not very hard to deal with unless you get unlucky. She will randomly move around the cameras, and if you look at her on the cameras for too long, she'll make you put the mask on for a really long time. Her penalties aren't really the worst, however. Aggressive CG will make you put the mask on for longer, and Insta CG will make her enter your office if you look at her, period, even if only for a fraction of a second. However, a monitor is added to your office showing exactly where she is at all times so that you can easily avoid her. There are much worse nuisance characters, and if you don't have any of her penalties, she really isn't a problem. B tier. Dsam, I'm gonna say Sam, is a character I never once chose throughout my playthrough. You may think that makes me a bad reviewer, but I personally think that makes me someone who values not killing myself. Sam will slowly walk back and forth in front of your window with some sound cues. Before he gets to a door, you will have to close it, making him a character you pretty much always have to be watching. He has 2 penalties. Quiet Sam removes his sound cues, and Invisa Sam forces you to only use his sound cues. So pick your poison, dumbass, or even better, just don't pick this character. D tier. Roby is torture. I thought he wouldn't be so bad, and let's just say I wasn't so right. He sits in your office with a timer on his eye. When it reaches 0, you must have your mask on or you will die. He has 2 penalties that are all equally terrible. Mute Roby removes the sound cue he makes right before waking up. Awoken Roby makes him stay awake longer, forcing you to put the mask on longer. I'm dead serious. Don't pick this character. He is horrific. F tier. Alexis is simple, but very easy to forget about, especially on later nights. She will randomly wander around the cameras. If you pull the camera down while on the camera she's at, she'll make you put the mask on for a really long time. So you'll have to switch cameras before pulling them down. She also has 3 penalties. Aggressive Alexis makes her act like CG, where looking at her for too long will also make her attack you. Sneaky Ghost will only make her appear on a camera after you look at it for a second, and Crazed Ghost will insta-kill you instead of making you put the mask on. If you are diligent and aren't an idiot, Alexis is not an issue. But because of how fast you'll be switching through cameras on later nights, I can't give her any higher than a B tier. Onion is another character I never choose. When you pull up the cameras, there's a chance he'll be on them and quickly run left or right. You will have to close the corresponding door. If you close both, he'll drain a bunch of power. Again, for some reason he doesn't have a wiki page, so I don't know what his penalties are, but just knowing what he does, I'm going to put him in C tier. T Generic is a very annoying character who I only choose if every other character was ass. He will be in the entrance with an arrow on his face. Once he leaves the entrance, he will go to whichever vent he was pointing to, and you'll have to stare at him in that vent until he goes away. If he gets into your office, you'll have to put the mask on for a very long time. He has 3 penalties that somehow make him even more annoying. Crazed Robot will make him insta-kill you instead of putting the mask on. How About I Do Anyway will make him enter your office regardless of if you looked at him in the vents or not. However, if you did look at him, you'll have to put the mask on for a shorter amount of time. And Glitched will make T Generic sometimes switch what vent he's going to, making his arrows completely useless. He's a character that breaks the rules and that breaks my balls. D tier. Kaiden acts in much the same way as T Generic. He'll start in the entrance holding a sign with an arrow pointing left or right. Once he leaves with a sound cue, you'll have to close whichever door he was pointing to. He of course has penalties that make him silent and make him go in the opposite direction the sign was pointing to. I've actually picked Kaiden multiple times because if you can avoid his annoying penalties, he's an incredibly easy character to deal with, since you can close both doors when you hear his sound cue for about 2 seconds and not have any additional penalties. A tier. The ink monstrosity is always an immediate pick for me. It starts in your office on the ceiling and slowly creeps down. Hold your flashlight on it to force it back up. The best part is it'll basically teleport all the way back up when you flash the light on him, but that's where his penalties come into play. Stubborn will make you have to hold your light on him, removing the loveliness of this character, but overall still isn't too bad. Head Start will make the ink monstrosity start halfway down in your office and won't be able to go all the way back up to the top. Easily the worst penalty this character has. I love this character, always an immediate choice for me. S tier. Robo Popcakes is a character I initially avoided, but eventually grew to really like picking. At random, he'll spawn on your cameras. Not a specific one, he'll just be an overlay. You will have to match up 2 patterns using the arrows on the overlay, and once you do, he'll disappear. If you don't do it in time, you'll die. This character is always one I liked choosing because of how likely I am to pick characters like Bonnie and Chica, because while I stare at them on the cameras, I can deal with RoboCake, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He has 2 penalties. X = X minus 2 gives you 2 less seconds to align his face, and pop time will only cause time to progress when you complete a Robo Popcakes attack. Overall, even with max penalties, Robo Popcakes isn't a terrible character. A tier. Entity 12 is pure masochism. They'll start in the storage or maintenance and move down your hall. Watch them on the cameras to make it go back. If they get to your office, they'll make you put the mask on for a long ass time. And get this, the 2 penalties they add doesn't make it any better. Aggressive Entity 12 will make you put the mask on for the rest of the fucking night if it gets into your office. And Run Killer will literally start with it inside of your office and it will never leave. Literally fuck that. Fuck this character. F tier. Mura is a character I'd highly recommend not picking if you have other characters that don't want you spamming through cameras, because you will have to be doing that a lot with Mira. Mira will be in the kitchen the entire night and will require you to feed her candy. If you don't feed her enough, you'll die. Candy will randomly spawn throughout the cameras, so you'll have to surf through them to click on them. The penalties she adds are brutal. Savory Tooth makes candy spawn less. Small Plate puts a small cap on the amount of candies you can hold at a time. And Sweet and Sour adds sour candies that will remove a candy from your candy counter if you click on them. So if you've been working your muscle memory this whole time and get this penalty, have fun clicking on every single sour one all the time. I'm not a fan of the camera surfing this character brings, and I'd much rather prefer to just ignore picking her. D tier. The Ringmaster is an interesting character. He'll randomly spawn on your cameras. When you see him, you'll have to flip the camera down and greet him in your office. If you switch cameras, he'll make you put the mask on for a long time. Praised Magician is a penalty that will make clicking off of his camera just instantly kill you. And Masked Magician will make flipping down the camera always make you put the mask on, but for less time than usual. I don't love picking Ringmaster, but I will usually end up choosing him later in a run. B tier. The entity is someone who gives me AIDS. They will randomly spawn on your cameras in 3 locations, except only one of them is actually real. You'll be able to tell because the fakes will be more transparent. Again, for some reason their wiki isn't available, and I never actually chose any of their penalties, so I'm not totally sure what they are. But I hate find them on the camera characters. You guys know that. D tier. No VA is a character I only dealt with once, acting as probably the most nuisance characters of all the nuisance characters. No VA will randomly move around your cameras. You will have to avoid clicking on the camera it's on, or you'll have to put on the mask. On lower AI levels, the camera it's on will be marked with green, making it very easy to see. As the AI goes up, it'll get harder and harder, eventually becoming fucking invisible. And let me tell you, the penalties make it even worse, as I'm sure you could have guessed. Malware makes clicking on no VA's camera kill you instantly. Spamware makes no VA on multiple cameras at a time, and adware creates an adware window on your cameras. If you don't close it fast enough, it will force you to look at no VA's camera. I actually think this character is really cool, and I think that its penalties are actually super interesting. Aside from malware, that one is AIDS. I still don't love picking this character though, because I hate mask characters. So because of this, I'm giving no VA C tier. Moldy is a character that is a really good pick for early game, but late game will easily become a character you will forget about. Whenever you pull down your camera, there's a chance he'll be in your office. If he is, you'll have to hold your light on him for a while, or you'll have to put the mask on. He has 2 penalties. Aggressive Moldy will make you have to shine your light on him for longer, and Crazed Mold will make pulling up the camera while he's in your room instantly kill you. Again, early game, he's amazing, but you will very quickly forget about him once more characters start to get added. So because of this, I'm giving him B tier. Rita Rabbit is thick, but that's not important. What is how she works. She sits on her fat ass in the arcade, slowly attempting to leave. All you have to do is hold the flashlight on her to make her go away. Honestly, not that bad of a character if you pair her with other arcade characters, which there is a decent amount of. She has 2 penalties. Aggressive Rita will make you hold your flashlight on her longer, and Cheeky Rabbit will make her move faster the longer you're not looking at her camera. If you know how to stack her with other characters properly, Rita shouldn't be a problem even if you have her penalties. A tier. Coral is another character that I love seeing as an option to pick. Coral will randomly appear at either of your doors with no sound cue, so you'll have to make sure you're paying attention. Simply close the door he's at and he'll knock, letting you know he's left. He has 2 different penalties. Blinding will make you additionally hold the flashlight on him for a while, and making sure will force you to have your camera down while the door is closed in order for him to leave. I love this character, he's super easy to deal with, S tier. Shrimp is another character that just makes me giddy with joy whenever I see her. Shrimp will occasionally spawn some shrimp food in your office on either side. Whichever side it's on is the side you have to close the door of until the shrimp food disappears. The 2 penalties she adds are easily some of the best to deal with. Big Shrimpin' is a penalty that will cause the shrimp food to have the chance to be really big. If it's really big, you just have to close both doors. And Small Shrimpin' gives the food the chance to have the lid off. If it is, all you have to do is close the door to the opposite side of the food. Shrimp is incredibly easy to deal with, she's satisfying to deal with, and she doesn't use the fucking cameras, which I love. Easy S tier. Worm is the next character we have to talk about, and I avoided this guy like the plague. I was very scared of how it was going to work, so I never actually ended up using it. Worm will start in the dining room and go down your right hall and will stay there until you open the door. When you open the door, it'll crawl through your office. Avoid looking at it either by using the mask or looking at the cameras until it leaves. It also has 2 penalties. Snail makes it move across the office slower, and Digger will make Worm add another bar of power usage while it's at your door. Worm just seems like a character that would completely disrupt the flow of the night, and because of that, I'm putting it in D tier. Kyle and Bob are the 2 next assholes I want to talk about, and these guys are weird, and also really shitty and confusing, and I don't fully understand them. Kyle and Bob are 2 separate animatronics, but they work in tandem. Both of them are vent characters. If Kyle, the yellow one, enters your vent, you have to look at him on the camera or he will enter your office and make you use the mask. If Bob is in your vent, you can't look at him on the cameras or he'll enter your office and make you use the mask. The only problem is, I was never able to figure out how to tell which one entered the vent. At first, I thought maybe they'd alternate and I'd have to remember, but then during one run, Kyle attacked twice in a row. So I'm thinking there has to be something I'm misunderstanding about these 2. Of course, they each have 2 penalties. Crazed Sun makes them instantly kill you if they enter your office, and Eclipsed will make one of them invisible while the other is in the vent. I tried to like these guys, but because I'm retarded and can't fully figure them out, they were never for me. D tier. Magi is a pretty interesting character. He will consistently walk back and forth in front of your window. At random, he will make a sound cue letting you know he's about to attack.
Come on, go, go.
When he does, you have to close the door to the side he's on, leading to you needing to keep track and remember which side he's on at all times. This isn't too bad for someone like me who tries to be able to stay in the office as much as possible. Magi has 3 penalties. Reach around will change the way his sound cues work. If he says
Surprise,
or
you won't see this one coming.
you will then need to close the door to the opposite side he's on. This can be confusing for obvious reasons. Do it myself is a penalty that will make Magi attack the opposite door whenever you deal with his puppet the first time. And Invisimagi makes him fucking invisible, as I'm sure you could have guessed. Magi is not my favorite, but I have no problem picking him later in the run when things are getting tight. B tier. Mallory, on the other hand, is torture. She stays in the ticket booth. At random, she will hold up any amount of fingers on one hand. You will then have to flash her with the flashlight that many times. If you flash her too many times or not enough, she will dash at your door 15 times. This is AIDS, and I can't even lie, 15 times? Why so many? Seems a bit overkill, don't you think? But let's talk about her penalties, which she has 3 of. Ambidextrous will make her be able to show you up to 8 fingers. DoorDash will make her charge 20 fucking times instead of 15, and DoorDash EX makes her charge your doors for the entire night. Easily one of the most bullshit characters when you have her penalties on, but if you can avoid choosing them, she's only really ass because her hand is conveniently behind the fucking camera map. D tier. Roy is one of the only camera animatronics I can actually stomach. He starts in the dining room and slowly makes his way to your office. You can lure him to a previous camera by holding your flashlight on them. Since he's a moth, he's attracted to the light. He only has 1 penalty, Aggressive Roy, which will just make you have to hold the light for longer to get him to move. Overall, very solid character, and not too annoying to handle until his AI value gets really high. A tier. Silly is kinda silly. Fuck, editor, cut that out. Silly is my favorite vent animatronic. He moves around the cameras, who gives a fuck? Eventually, he'll enter one of your vents. When he does, all you have to do is hold the flashlight on him before he enters your office and eats your butt. He also only has 1 penalty, Aggressive Silly, which makes you hold the flashlight on him for longer. Very simple character, he makes sound cues, I like sound cues, S tier. Next up, we've got Bop. She's an interesting, ADHD-riddled little fuck. When you pull down the camera, there's a chance she'll be standing in your window. She will then dash towards either of your doors. Simply close that door before she gets to it. She has 3 penalties. Layered Square will make Bop charge your doors multiple times. Bop Spawn will cause Bop to be able to spawn at your window even if the camera is down, and Force Down will make Bop force your camera down if it is up. A character that requires quick reaction time, and when more characters get added can be easily missed. E tier. Venus is a fucking plant. Oh, you want to know what they do? Sure, that's fair enough. Venus will sit in the kitchen the entire night like your mom in the middle of the night looking for more food even though she ate 65% of dinner that night. Throughout the night, bunnies will spawn in your room and you'll have to click on them to collect them. You then feed these bunnies to Venus in the kitchen camera. Very fucked up, Venus. These bunnies are cute. Venus has a hefty 4 different penalties, actually being one of the highest in the game. Wabbit hunting will make the bunnies in your office jump around, making them harder to click. Except they're still not hard to click, so it's not that bad. Depopulation will make the bunnies spawn less frequently. Wanderer will make Venus randomly move around your cameras instead of camping the kitchen. And Mako will add Venus's friend Mako into your office. If you click on him, you'll die. Venus is very fun to play with. Their mechanic is satisfying, clicking on the bunnies is fun, and even most of their penalties aren't too bad. S tier. Cyrex is the next character we need to talk about, and I absolutely hate her. She starts in the ticket booth and slowly makes her way to your office. Before she gets to your office, you'll have to go to the ticket booth camera and call her to your office manually and then put the mask on. If she gets to your office by herself, I'm assuming you can guess what happens. And if you couldn't have already guessed, her penalties aren't much better. Rising aggression makes her make you put the mask on longer the longer you take to call her to your office. And Call Tracker will randomize the camera the call button is on every time you use it. This character is Torment. This character is Anguish, F tier. Next we have Ellie, another character so potently AIDS I fear even talking about her. Her goal is to chew the wires in the storage room to cut your power. You will have to watch for her in either hall. When she's in one, you must make sure the door on that side is open and shake a box of snacks on that side of the office to lure her inside of the office. She will leave shortly thereafter. If your office door isn't open when you lure her, she will bang on the door and drain your power. She also has 3 penalties if this didn't already sound terrible enough. Shaker will force you to shake the bag of treats longer. Power Chomper will make Ellie drain more power when she bangs on your door, and Wind Skip will make her able to teleport from one hall to another without ever appearing in your window like she usually does. I don't think I have to explain why this character is awful to deal with. The rules that go along with her are far more complicated than any other character, F tier. The next character we have to begrudgingly talk about is Ammo. Ammo starts in the dining room and will slowly wander to your right door. Each camera he travels through will have an eject button with 2 power. Before Ammo reaches your office, you must press the eject button on any camera that has the eject power, which will then send him back to the dining room. Once a camera is out of power, there's no way to get it back. If this wasn't terrible sounding enough, you haven't even heard of his 3 penalties yet. Quiet Ammo will remove his sound cue when he moves. Single Take only allows each room to have 1 eject power instead of 2, and Demon adds Ammo's friend, Demon, who will randomly move around the ejectable cameras. If you eject a camera Demon is on, you will die. I hate this character. Dealing with him can be bad on higher AI values, but since he's nowhere near as bad as some of the other characters in this game, I'm putting him in D tier. And here we are, 29 pages into my script later, and we can talk about the final animatronic in this game, Swagman. Swagman has a pretty interesting mechanic I've actually never seen before. He will randomly wander around the cameras. You will have to stare at him to fill his swag meter up. If it goes all the way down, he will make you put the mask on for a long ass time. However, this mechanic isn't as bad as I usually say it is, because you can easily tell which camera Swagman is on because he lights it up. So, what about his 3 penalties? Well, Swagalicious makes him move from camera to camera faster, which can get annoying. Endless Swag will force you to put the mask on for the rest of the night if Swagman gets in, and Eye on the Swag will make Swagman's meter go up slower than usual. Overall, not a bad character, and no penalty that removes the ability to see what camera he's on. C tier. And there we go! That's every single character in Too Many Nights. I love how many there are. It leads to such a new and interesting experience every time you play, and I love it. But now I'd like to mention the general penalties that aren't specific to any character, as there are a few of those as well. Generally, from what I've noticed, it's much smarter to pick the general penalties over the character penalties, as it will be much more likely that they will be easier to deal with. Overtime will make each hour of the night last 2 seconds longer, and you can actually have 2 overtime penalties active at a time. Less power will, as the name suggests, make you start each night with less power, 10% to be exact, and you can have 3 of these penalties. Less room is a penalty that will give you 1 less option when selecting animatronics, and you can have 2 of them. All-Star will make the next enemy you add start at max AI value. Stranger Danger will add a random character you don't already have at a very low AI value, and Midnight Motivation will make all characters' AI value increase at 3 AM. All-Star, Stranger Danger, and Midnight Motivation are probably going to be penalties you always want to avoid, but I personally don't think the other characters are that bad. Next up, I'd like to talk about the characters that you can unlock to play as, because if you remember, each character has different pros and cons for you to choose from. To start, each character has a different amount of lives they'll start you with. Getting jump scared by an animatronic will cause you to lose one of these lives, giving you multiple opportunities if you mess up. And of course, I'll be putting these guys on a tier list as well. The first character you will have by default is Michael. He gives you 3 hearts and has no abilities. He's as basic can get, really. D tier. You also, by default, have 3 other much more interesting characters. The first being Elizabeth. She gives you 4 hearts and forces the enemies to have their AI values increase slower. But as a con, you'll receive half the amount of coins you'd usually get. The low AI value honestly makes her pretty valuable, but of course, never being able to buy anything is never fun. C tier. Evan is the next auto-unlocked character. He gives you 3 hearts, makes all enemies start on a higher AI value, but to compensate, nets you 1.5x more coins, which will be nice for when we talk about shops later in the video. High AI values are never super great, especially if you're dogshit at FNAF games like I am, but overall he is nowhere near the worst character to choose. C tier. Cassidy is the last character you'll unlock by default. She only gives you 1 heart and makes every single enemy start at maximum aggression, and forces you to pick a penalty every single night. She also will never allow you to see shops. Instead, you can use your money to remove penalties in animatronics. I don't care that you can remove things. Having to pick a penalty every night whilst also only having 1 heart is pure AIDS. F tier. Henry is the first character on the list to unlock. However, you can unlock them in pretty much any order you want. Henry is unlocked by beating at least 1 night while using Michael, Elizabeth, Evan, and Cassidy. something that should be very easy to pull off. He gives you 3 hearts and gives you way more options when picking enemies, penalties, and shop items. However, you will be forced to pick more enemies and more penalties. The last thing you're going to want to do is give yourself more threats. So even though your option pool is bigger, the cons outweigh the pros here a lot. D tier. Gabriel can be unlocked by having 2 penalties active in a run that affect Freddy. He gives you 3 hearts, gives you a guaranteed shop every single night. But as a downside, each character comes with a few of their penalties already added. I'm sure you know what I'm going to say, and a lot of character-specific penalties are horrific. Sure, you may never have to pick a penalty after beating a night, but I really don't care about that as much as getting butt-fucked by character penalties. F tier. Jeremy can be unlocked by getting a power outage on night 3 and beyond and still surviving the night. Generally one of the harder characters to unlock. He gives you 5 hearts. You start the run with 500% power instead of 100%. The nights are shorter than usual, but as a downside, your power carries over from night to night. But don't let that fool you. 500% power is a lot of fucking power, and if you're good at enemy building, you can easily make that last a long time. And 5 hearts is a fuck ton. Easy A tier character. Susie will be unlocked if you die to Chica twice in a single night and then beat that night. She gives 3 hearts. Each enemy starts at max AI value, but you gain 1 life after you beat a night. Now, at first glance, this may sound really bad, but I actually had my second best run ever using Susie, and it's 100% because of that life gain. With characters always on max difficulty, there's no way for them to get harder, so you'll get used to them at their hardest difficulty pretty quickly. Sure, she's not the best, but she definitely isn't as bad as she sounds. B tier. Fritz is unlocked by having 100 or more coins at one time in a single run. He gives you 2 hearts, and your lives are attached to the number of coins you have. To be specific, for every 50 coins you have, that equals 1 heart. Overall, this character is more confusing than it will ever be useful, actively discouraging you from ever buying anything. You're better off just using Michael, as there's no real downside. D tier. Fitzgerald is unlocked by beating night 5 in a run whilst only picking the leftmost enemies and penalties. I actually struggled a bit unlocking this character, so what does he do? Well, you start with 3 hearts, and each enemy and penalty are randomized each night, meaning the 3 enemies you pick on night 1 will be different on night 2, and you can also pay to reroll, as well as getting a shop every single night. This character really just serves as what I'm going to call a challenge character. You would never actually want to bring this character into a legitimate run, and because of that, I'm giving him an F tier. Sally is easily the most unique character out of all of the normal ones, and I'll explain what normal means in a bit. You unlock her by beating a night with both Percy Poodle and Rowan Rat on max AI values. Sally introduces a brand new mechanic, that being the pup pal from Playtime with Percy. It works in the exact same way as in that game, and the best part, your progress on the night is tied to it. No more waiting out the night. You will have to complete the games on the pup pal for the night to end. Again, this goes to serve as more of a challenge character than anything else, as playing Sally will by default make the game much harder, and because of this, I'm giving her F tier. Again, not because she's not a fun character, but because if you're trying to get far in a run, she's not the character for you. And finally, we have the man himself, Scott Cawthon, who is unlocked by completing night 3 with every other character in the game. And of course, since he's the final character, he has the most interesting mechanic. He himself doesn't have any abilities, instead letting you pick the pros and cons from every other character in the game, allowing you to mix and match your favorite pieces from other characters. You don't need me to tell you that Scott is a broken character. I'm pretty sure you can figure that out. Easy S tier. And boom, that's every single playable character in Too Many Nights. So now we can start talking about the items that can be bought in the shop. I won't be going over each and every one, since there are literally a fuck ton to talk about, and this video is already long enough. But I do want to talk about some of the best ones to look out for. Early Out is an item that will make each night 2 seconds shorter. More Power will start each night with 10% more power. More Room will give you more options when picking animatronics. The Empress will give you 1 life and give you more options when picking animatronics. The Emperor will decrease every animatronic's AI value by 2. The Chariot will have you start each night with 15% more power. The Hanged Man will remove 2 random penalties you have activated. Death removes a random enemy. The Moon makes each hour 3 seconds shorter. Fritz Children's Bible will make items you can't afford never show up in shops. And Sparked will make sparks appear randomly on cameras, and touching them will increase your power. Those are all of the yummy mashed potatoes in my belly items that I like to look out for in the shop. Again, there are a lot more, but I think it would just be really boring to go over all of them. But there you go. That's everything you need to know, and as far as I'm aware, everything that Too Many Nights has to offer. I would highly recommend you give this game a try. It is some of the most fun I've ever had since starting this channel, and I actually plan on doing some Too Many Nights streams here on this channel. If that's something you're interested, let me know. Also, if you were interested, Too Many Nights is actually getting a version 2.1, and it's being worked on as I'm writing this. I'm super excited to see what it has to offer once it's fully released. This game is so incredibly unique and combines 2 of my favorite game genres of all time into one amazing game. The art style is unique, the community input is fantastic, and of course, the gameplay and gameplay loop are impeccable. As I continue to make videos talking about Five Nights at Freddy's games, as each week goes by, I grow more and more nervous that I will eventually run out of interesting games to talk about. Obviously, the next choice would be to start talking about random horror games until new FNAF titles are released. However, recently I found a FNAF fan game I have never heard of before, a game so interesting I couldn't help but get sucked right into it. The game we'll be talking about today is Night Watch at Freddy's, a FNAF fan game that pretends to be an official demo of the original Five Nights at Freddy's games, but is really hiding some incredibly dark secrets. Stick around because you're not going to want to miss out on this one. This is truly one of the most interesting FNAF games I will ever talk about on this channel. So sit back, relax, and join me today as we dive into the depraved world of Night Watch at Freddy's. Night Watch at Freddy's does not begin in the way a normal FNAF game typically begins. I've actually never seen any FNAF game start in the same way that Night Watch at Freddy's does. Upon pressing start, we're greeted to the night screen, where you can already see something interesting. You have the classic live system that was originally supposed to be in the first Five Nights at Freddy's. But let's pause for a second and back way the fuck up. Take a look at this title screen. Do you notice anything strange? Well, if you said that the creator of the game's name looks a bit weird, then you'd be correct. It says the creator's name is Scott Cawthorn, clearly an alternate version of Scott Cawthon. But that's not where it ends. Right next to the name, we can see the year 2014. Spoiler alert, this game was released in 2025. Let's cut to the chase of why I wanted to talk about this game, as clearly there's something weird going on. Night Watch at Freddy's explores an alternate timeline where the original Five Nights at Freddy's game took a significant turn from what we know them as today. Wow, I hear you say. That's a super interesting idea for a FNAF game. Tell me, who could come up with something as interesting as that? Well, the answer to that question is pretty damn cool. This game's lead director is Avocado Dreams, the same person who's responsible for Graveyard Shift at Freddy's and the remnants of Tubbyland, both of which I've covered on this channel, and you should definitely go check out those videos after this one. But for now, let's continue. Knowing that this game is supposed to be a demo for what the first official FNAF game was intended to be. Of course, since this is an alternate timeline of the official FNAF games, in this alternate universe, Scott actually did end up including the live system that was left out of the official games. And you'll notice plenty more details just like this. For example, there's actually a fake alternate version of the classic Scott Games website, Scott Productions. The team responsible for this game really went all out. This is one of the coolest experiences I've ever seen in my entire time working on FNAF stuff. Before we load into the office, we get to see a developer note talking about Night 1. Keep in mind, Night Watch at Freddy's is pretending to be a demo, so notes like these are pretty common. Welcome to Night Watch at Freddy's, or at least the prototype of it. Some things are still subject to change. For right now though, you can play through what's done of the game and get a feel for how it's going to end up. Night 1 begins, and we of course get a phone call from this game's phone guy. He gives the basic Night 1 spiel that we're all used to. However, he does mention how the breaker and power systems work. Of course, that's my job, so I'm going to be doing that instead. A few things you'll immediately notice about this game. The first, and in my opinion, biggest outlier is how the doors behave. You'll notice that they're already closed from the beginning of the night. You can open the doors and flash the hallways, and doing so increases your usage. Your light especially, but we'll talk about that more once we get into the characters. Moving on to your cameras, you'll notice another scrapped feature from the official games is present here, that being the original camera buttons, where they were originally intended to be circles that would project the direction they were actually facing in the building. Such a super small, cool detail, but if there's anything Avocado Dreams is good at, it's attention to detail. Only one animatronic is introduced on night 1, that character being Bonnie. Of course, this is an alternative FNAF 1 after all, so keeping the overall order of the character introduction does make sense. Bonnie, as I'm sure you could have guessed, is pretty simple to deal with overall. Bonnie's goal is to get to your left door, exactly how he does in the original. However, the way you deal with him is different, and he also introduces a new mechanic in the form of points into the game. Once Bonnie reaches your left hallway, staring at him on the cameras will stall him. This will become integral once we start talking about another character that gets introduced. While you're stalling Bonnie, you will get 5 points around every 0.5 seconds. So the longer you watch him, the longer he doesn't move, and the more points you obtain. Something additional to note are your lives. If you are to lose all of them, you don't have to start all the way back on night 1. Instead, your points will just get reset to 0. On top of that, after every completed night, you will gain 1 life. Anyways, back to talking about Bonnie. Once Bonnie reaches your door, you have to open it and hold your light on him until he goes away, which will happen pretty quickly, thankfully, because as I've said before, the lights will absolutely ramp up your breaker stress. Once Bonnie leaves, you'll want to close the door again. Oh my god, oh my fucking god, oh my fucking god, it runs. My chest, dude. Oh my god, don't do that ever again. Ding. No thanks. This mechanic does bring up an interesting and pretty scary point. The doors are closed by default, and if you don't open the door and flash Bonnie when he is there, he will jump scare you. So that brings up the terrifying realization. Bonnie is strong enough to open the door if he really wanted to. Put yourself in the shoes of the night god for a second. If that doesn't scare the absolute piss and shit out of you, I don't know what will. But aside from that, that's all Bonnie does. Something additional I do want to point out about Bonnie is how fucked up and gross he looks. Why are his ears down like that? Tell me that's not disgusting. Dogs put their ears down when they know they did something bad, and cats put their ears down when they're about to do something bad. So what the hell does a bunny with its ears down mean? That I'm about to get back shots? Probably, and I don't want that. Nice job getting past the first night. Still wondering what I should do with that raccoon. If anyone has any ideas, please let me know. Night 2's phone call just explains one of the new characters. Additionally, Phone Guy says he's going to drop the script the company wants him to read and instead just tell some stories during the phone calls, which he doesn't end up doing this time around. However, towards the end of the call, his dog runs into a fucking door like a moron, and then he ends the call to go take it for a walk. I think that's supposed to be a hint for one of the characters this night introduces, because I have no idea what else that could be. Like the official FNAF 1, Night 2 introduces 2 new threats, Foxy and Chica. Let's go over Chica first, since she's pretty much just Bonnie with a small difference. She will do the same thing that Bonnie does, except she'll go to the right door instead. Same thing goes. Staring at her in the right hall will stall her, and while you stall her, you'll gain points. However, the difference with Chica is how you deal with her once she reaches your door. You still have to open it, but instead of holding the light on her, you have to flash your light at her. Now, come in real close and let me give you a little tip about clicking on things in almost any Click Team Fusion game. The way Click Team seems to register clicks can be delayed depending on your mouse position. I actually first noticed this during my playthrough of Tyke & Sons Lumber Co. a few months ago. If you keep your mouse stationary and click on something really fast, Click Team will not register every click you make. However, if you click, move your mouse slightly really fast, and then click again, then it will register every click. This is exactly how you can get Chica to go away really fast. If you jitter click your mouse and whip around the cursor in a small enough area over the lever, you will flash the light really fast, making Chica leave faster. Fun fact, you can also use this clicking method to ring the bell on your desk really fast and make your grandma's tinnitus act up. but you didn't hear that from me. The other character this night introduces is Foxy, who for some reason is gender swapped in this game. Not really sure on that decision. Maybe Foxy was going to be a girl in the official games, but Scott changed it, and this game is drawing from that. Or who knows, maybe Avocado Dreams just wanted a female Foxy. Either way, it's not really important. Foxy almost works the same way she does in the original. She still has multiple phases she will go through before charging at your office. However, I'm unsure if being on the camera stalls her this time around. After she gets to her final phase and disappears to charge at your office, you'll have to check Pirate's Cove and look at her sign to see which door she's charging at, since yes, she can attack both. Once you know which door she's going to attack, all you have to do is open that door and wait for her to arrive. She'll lean in and yell at you before running back to her cove. From there, you can just close the door and easy peasy lemon dick, she's been dealt with. Keeping this one short since I haven't really been feeling the best lately. The more I work on this project, the more I feel like it's not aligning with what I've learned over the years. The overall themes are just... I guess it's just something I'll have to get used to. Hopefully it won't impact development too much. Also, I keep getting questions on how to deal with the golden Freddy. The statue in the entrance doesn't move. There's not even any coding for it to move. I don't understand what you all are talking about. Night 3's phone call is an interesting one. It begins with the phone guy telling us about his dog running into the door. Idiot ass dog. Cats are way better anyways. He starts talking about the new character, a puppet, and about how it really creeps him out. You can tell by the sound in his voice that he really doesn't like this thing.
Dog. It freaks me out.
He explains how to deal with it and abruptly ends the call by yelling at us to not let it out of our sight. So, as I'm sure you could have guessed, the new threat on this night is the puppet, which I'm sure you already knew was not in the original FNAF 1. So, how is this character going to work? Well, it's probably one of the most nerve-wracking, stressful, and anxiety-inducing characters in the entire game. Occasionally, you will hear a sound cue, one that I can't really describe with words. It's really weird. Anyways, when you hear it, the puppet will appear on one of 4 cameras at the bottom of the map at random. It will either be in the bathroom, the show stage, the party room, or the kitchen. You will have to find which 4 of these cameras it's on and hold the stop button like a music box to make it go away. If you don't do this in time, the puppet is going to plow on that pussy. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with me, bro? Oh my God. Put me in a fucking cage, dude. Overall, it doesn't add anything too crazy to the mix so far. Your strategy at this point should be watching Foxy and the 2 halls, staring at Bonnie or Chica to desync the 2 from attacking at the same time, and whenever you hear the sound cue, go deal with the puppet. Overall, not too bad, but night 4 is when things really start to ramp up. This is getting a bit crazy. I thought adding more depth would increase the replayability, but it's honestly overwhelming. Maybe I'll just change it so Freddy only appears during the power outage, but that might be a bit lame. Time will tell, I guess. I'm worried that having so many different things to do might be too much. Also, added the ability to ring the bell on the desk. Thank Lane for that idea. Night 4's phone call gets pretty serious. The phone guy explains that the animatronics are not acting right at all, going places they shouldn't be going, snapping their jaws shut, which they shouldn't even be programmed to do. He mentions Freddy specifically, and how one time before showtime, they found him in the garage of the building, staring at the main power breaker. So yeah, that sounds like Bad News Bears. Get it? Bears? Like Freddy because he's yeah, you get it. Night 4 introduces this game's final threat. Obviously, it's Freddy. And Freddy ties this game's loop together by single-handedly being the most stressful character in the entire game and making every other character feel 10 times more stressful than they already were. Just like the puppet, Freddy will occasionally laugh. When he does, that signifies that he has moved cameras. Freddy can move between only 5 cameras, and getting to your office is not a concern of his. When he moves off the show stage, he will either go to the bathrooms, the party room, the back room, or the kitchen. If at any point you hear him move and you can't find him on any 4 of those cameras, then that means he's moved to the garage. The garage camera, of course, has no video feed. So the only way to know for sure if Freddy is in there is by checking the 4 other possible cameras he can be in. When you know he's in the garage, you will be able to use the garage's camera scanner. The scanner will then shock the absolute living shit out of him and make him piss off. If you don't shock him fast enough, he will punch the shit out of your breaker and you will completely lose power. So there you go. There is every single character at the same time. Can you see how stressful this could be? Having to constantly watch Foxy, having to balance stalling Bonnie and Chica, balancing your power usage and your camera usage and the power aids that will happen when you use your lights, and on top of that, having 2 characters that will require you to, at random, play a stupid fucking find them on the camera mechanic game, while having one of those bullshit characters also mixing in a small music box mechanic at the same time. Does that sound a little bit overwhelming? If you said yes, that's because it kind of is. But in all honesty, I love this gameplay loop. Sure, I'm not a fan of the find them on the camera mechanics at all, but somehow this game manages to make every single action you do feel satisfying. It's really hard to put into words, and I would highly recommend you check this game out for yourself, or ideally watch my full playthrough over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Link in the description. Nothing really to mention here. I'm just so unsure of everything revolving around this project right now. The ideas are definitely there. I'm proud of the models, the atmospheres in place, but something still feels so off. I'm really unsure if people will enjoy this, especially with how grim the story is. When I explained the story to my mom, she went pale and just asked me, "What are you thinking?" Just a few weeks ago, I'd have had the answer. Now I'm not so sure. Is this really something anyone would want? Would a story like this really be part of his plan for me? I don't know. I guess it just really goes to show I'm out of my depth completely. There's one more thing I want to try. There's only one way to find out if I'll be satisfied with it though. Night 5 introduces nothing new, just being a harder version of Night 4. But it's clear from the developer notes that the dev is really starting to doubt themselves. And trust me, the phone guy is having a mental breakdown as well.
Hey, glad to hear that you're alright. I was worried since, you see, there's sort of something I've been wanting to tell you. It's kinda... Okay, no, I can't do this anymore, dude. Everything's gone wrong, and I think I know why. On your first night, I told you about a birthday party that went bad way back, yeah? I was keeping quiet on the details. It's a sensitive subject around here, but during the party, the animatronics started going crazy. Kind of like they've been recently, and before anyone knew what happened, the power went out. Kids were screaming, parents were running around, and we were doing everything we could to get the lights back on. But by the time we did, the birthday boy was gone. And we couldn't find him anywhere, and no power meant no cameras, so we didn't have any leads. Not until our night guard didn't clock in for his shift. He hadn't missed a single shift before then, and he would have known exactly how the camera systems worked, so people filled in the blanks. Started a manhunt. Management tried to forget the whole thing, but the town sure didn't. And now it's looking like it's only gonna get worse. I swear I'm seeing things that aren't there, hearing sounds in the walls, and that puppet thing keeps vanishing. I don't know why the animatronics are moving, but all of this, there's only one explanation I could think of. That kid's still here, like his ghost or something. I think it's responsible for everything that's happened since then. And deep down, maybe you're thinking the same thing. That's the only reason I can think of for why you keep coming back. Maybe you know something I don't, but here's the facts, man. This place isn't safe anymore. I'm taking my last paycheck and getting out of here. I'd suggest you do the same, but it seems you're pretty dead set on whatever it is you're trying to do. But I'm sorry I wasn't completely honest with you. No one else believed me, and look, I can't do much to make it up to you, but I know this place that serves some good drinks, and the food's pretty great. Had no animatronics either. Just, give me a call tomorrow if you're up for it. My treat, man. It's the least I could do. Good luck.
After completing Night 5, we get our paycheck as usual. But of course, if you've ever seen any FNAF game in your entire life before, then you'd know we're not quite done yet. Going back to the title screen, we'll see we've unlocked the Overtime Night. And surprisingly, it is not just a harder version of Night 5. Overtime Night starts with a phone call, not from the phone guy we've been hearing so far. If you remember, he said he was quitting, and exactly that he did. The phone call we get tonight is from a woman, talking about how employees have been spreading rumors about the animatronics and monsters, all of which we know is true. She says that all employees who have been spreading these rumors will be docked pay, which I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And with that, Overtime Night begins. Let's just start by getting one thing out of the way. This night is stressful. However, it's really fun. The entire game is really fun. When I first heard this game was made by Avocado Dreams, I was really scared it was going to be incredibly fucking hard like Graveyard Shift and Remnants of Tubbyland. But to my surprise, while yes, this game definitely isn't easy, there is very little RNG that is overwhelming, and I was actually able to complete this night. Overtime Night introduces one final threat, which this game calls Jailbird. Jailbird is not at all a hard threat to deal with. I feel like she serves more as a nuisance character that you need to spend time on more than a threat that will actually get you killed. Editor, don't you dare think about playing the clip where I died to her. You know full well I died there because I didn't fully understand how she worked yet. Don't even start with me, Buster. You're on thin ice, bitch! Ooh! Ooh! What the fuck was that thing? Whoa! Whoa! What the hell was that thing? Jailbird will wander around your cameras in an attempt to get to your garage. When she gets to the garage, she'll start to open the garage's door. When it opens, she will, for some reason, be at the front door to your office, which up until this point has never been used. If you take a look at the map, I'm not entirely sure how her opening up the garage door makes her end up here. That doesn't make much sense to me, and is why I didn't fully understand her at first. Editor, piece of shit! When you know she's behind that door, you will have to quickly spam open and close your camera. This will make her slowly emerge from behind the door and eventually leave your office. How does this make sense whatsoever? I have no idea. Don't question it. Boss character, hooray, hooray, weird shit! This night is very fast-paced, but because of the way all of the mechanics in this game work together, it serves to be an incredibly satisfying and enjoyable night overall. The difficulty is definitely high, but it is in no way overwhelming like some of Avocado Dreams' other games, which I, as someone who is dog shit at FNAF games, can really appreciate. Of course, you also have your custom night, but on top of that, after beating Overtime, you get access to Aggressive Mode, an optional setting you can use to play through the entire game again with all of the characters having movement opportunities more often. I, for obvious reasons, did not try to complete this mode. However, I know there are some people crazy enough to complete it, and I congratulate all of you who were able to, because watching playthroughs of Aggressive Mode is actually insane. And of course, it wouldn't be a FNAF game without some secrets and Easter eggs, so we might as well cover those as well, right? The first Easter egg is a Golden Freddy Easter egg. I'm not totally sure how it's pulled off, but just taking a look at the video I found, it seems like you need to flip your camera up and down a few times, then sit on the show stage camera. Golden Freddy should start reciting a Bible verse. Interestingly enough, the Bible verse he's saying is about Hebrews who created a golden calf to worship right before they were freed by God. Exodus 32:31. Afterwards, when you pull the camera down, you'll get this jump scare. In one of the earlier dev notes, the developer mentions a raccoon character that they didn't know what to do with. So during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, I thought the final character in the Overtime Night was going to be this raccoon, but obviously I was wrong. However, there is a chance you can find these renders of him throughout the game. But as far as I'm aware, that's all Night Watch at Freddy's has to offer. I'm pretty confident that we will be getting more games in this series, since it seems the developers' dive into turmoil is only just beginning. And you better believe I'll be around when and if those sequels or prequels come out. Overall, I think Night Watch at Freddy's has become my favorite Avocado Dreams fan project. And no, That's not just because it was the only one I've been able to beat. I think the idea for the story is incredibly unique. The character designs are great, the game mechanics are literally amazing, and every character works together so well. And of course, it doesn't rely too much on RNG. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this is easily the worst fan game Avocado Dreams has ever worked on? 2D FNAF fan games. Some of the most interesting, fun, and unique fan games in the entire genre. Find me one of them that doesn't do something cool. I dare you. Five Nights at Frederick's, Five Nights at Frick Bear's, One Night at Flumpty's. All of these games are amazing for their own unique reasons, and that's because they do things that nobody else does. Today, we're going to be talking about another 2D FNAF fan game that the community absolutely adored upon its release. It reminds me a lot of what the community had to say about Cuphead when that game was first released. We've got plenty to talk about today, and a whole bunch of rage to get out of my system. So strap in and join me today as we dive into the world of 5 Newfangled Nights. Night 1 opens to a cutscene of the restaurant with a help wanted sign outside. Then we get this lovely cutscene.
Where am I?
Hi!
Ah!
Hey, it's okay. I won't bite.
Who are you?
Oh, right. Where are my manners? I'm Jeremy.
What happened to your,
Oh, this whole thing? I'm, mortally challenged? Dead.
Oh. Wait, if you're dead, then how am I talking to you?
Well, that's the thing. You're also living impaired. Dead. You're kind of dead too.
Oh. I don't feel dead.
Yeah, you don't really notice till the glow kicks in.
What?
Anywho, let's get out of here. This closet's a bit stuffy in here. Come on, I'll introduce you to the others.
Others?
Follow me. Okay, this is Susie,
Hi.
Fritz,
Hey.
and Gabe.
Hello.
Gabe, we're over here.
Nice to meet you all. I'm Cassie. So how did we end up like this?
We were murdered in the back of the restaurant.
Fritz?
What? I'm being honest.
That's horrible! Who would do such a thing? Oh, just the night guard. The night guard?
Yeah, the night guard in the back. Lured us to parts and service, sliced and diced us, and hit our bodies.
And you guys just let him get away with it?
Well, yeah. He killed us. He works minimum wage, though. I feel like that's even.
No, it isn't. We gotta do something. Something to him. I say we kill him.
Hide!
Now, how to do it?
We could use the suits.
What suits?
Oh yeah, the mascot suit. It's where the killers hit our bodies. We hop into these tin cans, and we can walk around as a bunch of furry robots.
That could work.
Okay, we can try dibs.
Oh, man. Okay, Jeremy. Hop into one of those suits and teach that jerk a lesson.
Who?
The night guard.
What about him?
We're gonna kill him.
Oh, right! Don't worry, Cassie. I'll give him the oh, what for?
Wasn't that just adorable? I actually really like the cutscenes that this game has. It makes it feel super unique, and it's a break from the action. However corny and unfunny I think the jokes are, I do kind of think that's also the point. Anyways, on to the actual night section where we can start talking about everything that this game has to offer. To begin, let's start with the tools at our disposal, of which there is a decent handful. Not a lot, just enough for me to taste it a little bit and go, oh boy. Shout out if you get that one. Anyways, We have a phone, in which we receive phone calls that I will immediately hang up, like I do with my crazy ex-girlfriend when she called me 30 to 50 times a day for the first 2 weeks after I broke up with her. Can you guys guess the reason why I'm going to be skipping these calls? If you said because it's my job to explain to you what happens in this game, then you'd be exactly right. Congratulations. We obviously have a camera system, but this one is a bit interesting. I've never quite seen one like it before. We get just this teeny tiny little screen that we can barely see fuck on, and then a bunch of levers at the bottom that let us surf through the cameras. We can also shut the cameras off too. I'm sure we'll never have to do that though. Anyways, we also have 2 doors, except only one of them matters because it's the only one that can actually be closed. The other one is just kind of there. Side tangent, why do most FNAF games have 2 doors to the office? Like, I never understood that. What architect decided, you know what this room needs? 2 entrances. Like, why? Why is that even a thing? Like, for what reasonable purpose could that possibly serve? I don't fucking know. Night 1 introduces, you guessed it, Bonnie. And as per usual, he's our favorite early game boring dick-ass character. And that's just how we like him, isn't it, everybody? Bonnie is as simple as you could imagine because he behaves quite literally the exact same as every other Bonnie to ever exist in the history of fuck. He will wander through the cameras until he reaches your left door. Thankfully, this game was kind enough to use sound cues so I don't have to rip my pubes out. When you see Bonnie at your door, all you have to do is hold the door closed since this door is a manual and not an automatic, which reminds me of those entitled fucks who think they're better than everybody just because they drive a stick shift. Hate to break it to you, dickhead. Nobody gives a fuck about your stupid ass car. You can go put that shifter right in your gooch. Of course, just hold the door closed for as long as Bonnie is there and he'll eventually leave and you can open it again. However, as I'm sure you could have already imagined, since Bonnie is the only threat during this entire night, all you need to do is hold it shut the entire night and you can win while basically doing absolutely nothing at all. Congrats! And guys, I know it's been a while since we've heard something like this on this channel, but this game actually has a post-night minigame. Yeah, I know. Isn't it beautiful? I feel like it's been so long since I've had some shit to complain about. Don't look at the last 3 videos. Those aren't real. In this game, we play Whack a Bonnie, which is just the best thing I've ever seen. The only thing that could possibly make it better is if it was either Toy Bonnie or my evil arch nemesis, Sheriff Slitherdick. You're obviously timed during this minigame, and your goal is to get 35 points. If you can successfully do this, then you'll skip the first 2 hours of the next night. I see we're taking a page out of the FNAF 4 playbook in this game, and I appreciate it. I really do. Too bad I'm dog shit at Whack-A-Mole and much better at a much more enjoyable game, Whack My Willy. Holy fuck, I'm gonna kill myself.
How'd it go, Jeremy?
Yeah. I didn't get him.
Why? What happened?
Well, I kind of sort of forgot what I was doing. Kind of hard to remember things with, you know.
Well, all you gotta do is reach into the office and grab him.
Great idea.
We might need some backup.
How about Gabe? He pilots the bear suit pretty darn well.
Well, what do you say, Gabe?
Well, I wouldn't want to encroach on anyone else's turn. Susie, why don't you give it a try?
Oh, sure. I'll go. I'd like to give that meanie a taste of his own medicine. All right, go ahead, Susie. Eee! Let me just take care of something real quick. Attention! All right, Bonnie. You take Carl, and I'll take Chica.
All right, night 2. Are you ready? Well, you better be because it's time to start talking about it. Night 2 opens with the tip to keep an eye on those doors. And like, no fucking shit, that's one of the core mechanics of the game. Why would I not keep my eyes on it? That's just a stupid, worthless tip. I got a tip this game can suck on. I'm sorry. Night 2 introduces 2 new threats. However, you could technically argue that they're one and the same, except not really, so I don't even know why I just said that. Night 2 introduces Chica and Carl, because in this game, Carl is actually his own character with his own mechanic, which I do think is super cool. Chica is pretty simple, although I do think she actually has one of the most interesting mechanics I've ever seen. And I swear I'm not joking about that. I actually think it's super fucking cool. Chica will wander around the cameras until she eventually attacks your right front door, as she tends to do in most games she's present in. She also makes a sound cue, and it's her giant ass, fat, rusty ass clanker feet stomping directly in your ear. When you hear her coming, shortly after, you will actually see her walking through your office, which is just fucking awesome. I can't even lie, I love this. She will always walk from the right side to the left side of your office, and she won't attack you when she's in your office, which I personally find to be really weird because why doesn't she just kill you? She already made it into your office. Like, dude, you won. Come get me, bro, I lose. What you really have to do is just make sure that your left door isn't closed by the time she gets over to it. You seriously have to let her walk all the way through your office. If she bumps her big, fat, juicy bird ass into your door, only then will she actually kill you. So, if you haven't found the strategy yet because you're blind, deaf, or retarded, just hold the door closed the entire night unless Chica is walking through the office. However, we still have another little poop goblin to talk about. That, of course, being Carl, who is incredibly easy to deal with. Occasionally, he will appear on your desk and start spinning around in circles. All you have to do is click on him and he'll go away. If you somehow manage to die to Carl, you should attempt a backflip off the roof of your house just to see what happens. Carl is simple, literally the most non-threatening character in this entire game. All right, on to the post-night minigame, which is pretty much exactly the same as the first. Once again, we're playing Whack-A-Bonnie and we need 35 points. However, this time around, we actually have a threat that can end the run early. That being, once again, Poop Goblin Carl. Carl will slowly make his way all the way down the arcade cabinet. I guess when he reaches the bottom, he shuts it off or something. I really have no idea, I can't lie. But let's just imagine that's what happens. All you have to do is click him to keep him away. If he reaches the bottom, the minigame ends early and you don't get to skip the first 2 hours of night 3. Speaking of night 3,
How'd it go, Susie? Did you get him? Not yet, Miss Cassie. But I got the perfect plan. I walk into the office, and that's it. I'm sure to give him a heart attack eventually. Gabe, you gotta help us out here.
Well, I don't know.
Please, Gabe, we could really use an extra hand.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Thank you, Gabe.
Okay, here I go.
Gabe, wrong suit.
Oops, sorry.
Oh boy, I better go help him out. Gabe can be a real nervous Nelly when he's the center of attention.
This could actually work. You two just keep doing what you're doing.
Sir, yes, ma'am.
night 3 opens with the tip, hide when he is close. Not really liking the sound of that, in all honesty. So how about we just learn which threat is introduced tonight? Well, spoiler alert, both Freddy and Foxy are introduced on night 3, bringing the total character count already up to 5, which is just really the worst feeling on the face of the earth. And it's on this night where the game actually starts to become a challenge, because up to this point, it's been incredibly piss easy. Let's start by talking about Foxy, since he's undoubtedly the easiest to deal with out of the two. Foxy can only attack your left door, probably because that's the one that actually has a fucking door on it. He has 2 sound cues that can play. One of them is very loud and sounds like a crowded train station for some reason, and the other is quiet as shit. However, I still don't think you'll actually ever miss it, so you should be big chilling. That's a little bit of Chinese for you guys. Shout out to all my Chinese senoritas. I know that's Spanish, but fuck you, I don't know Chinese at all. Foxy sits his fat ass in Pirate's Cove, if you can imagine that, and as far as I'm aware, looking at him on the cameras doesn't stall him, so don't even bother doing that. Not that you'd want to, since I'm willing to bet that you could probably contract scurvy just by looking at this guy, since he'll suck all the vitamin C out of your dick. Body! I meant body. Shut up. Now Freddy. Oh boy. Freddy is by far one of the most confusing characters in this entire game. Learning how he actually worked took me an embarrassingly long time, but we're not going to talk about that. Instead, we're just going to talk about how you're actually supposed to deal with him. The game tells you that you need to hide from Freddy, but it literally never once tells you what hiding actually means. I'm getting flashbacks to the last 2 games I covered, guys, because what do you mean this game isn't telling me something again? It's okay. I've managed to settle the demon. Let's continue. Freddy will slowly move throughout the cameras until he reaches the dreaded camera 6. Dreaded Camera 6 is the final camera he'll go to before he enters your office and slaps his penis in between your butt cheeks. You can slow him down from reaching your office by staring at him on the cameras. However, you'll never actually be able to push him backwards. So in all honesty, I would really just recommend you let him attack you. Once he actually does attack you, we still have to answer the question of what the fuck hiding actually means. Well, let me tell you, it's really fucking stupid, and I hate it. When we're looking at the cameras, we're actually turned around. It's not like most FNAF games where we pull up a camera. We physically turn around, and the camera system is behind us. By turning around and shutting off the power, this is what hiding actually is. Does the game ever tell you that this is what hiding is? Fucking of course not, because that would make too much sense. Let's just make the player guess instead. Fuck them, right? You'll be able to see Freddy walk through your office, and once he leaves, you can turn the power back on and continue the night as usual. But I'll be so honest, the amount of time I spent trying to figure out what the fuck to do when Freddy attacks is embarrassing. Strategy for this night isn't honestly too bad. Really just do what you've been doing, listen for Foxy sound cues, and every few seconds just turn around to watch and stall Freddy. And of course, hide when you need to. Not a huge problem once you actually know what to do. The problem is just figuring out what the fuck you need to do. The post-night minigame on night 3 is once again the same as before, just with a little something extra to spice it up, like when I purposefully don't put on deodorant before a 12-hour flight. Just gotta keep things interesting. This time, the extra addition is Bonnie being behind you trying to butt-fuck your pussy. Every once in a while, you'll have to turn around and flash him to prevent him from doing exactly that. If you still manage to win, skipping 2 hours of night 4 is what's in store for you. And speaking of night 4...
Anything?
Sorry, Cass. No dice yet.
How about you, Gabe?
I kind of froze up. Sorry, Cassie.
It's all right, Gabe. We'll get the run-up on him eventually.
Speaking of, where's Fritz?
Frackum. Gosh darn.
What's the matter, Mr. Fritz?
It's that stupid door. I can't get past that darn thing.
Well, did you try the other hall?
No, I didn't. What?
Fritz, you know there's 2 hallways, right?
Eh?
Look.
Oh my gosh. Okay, new plan. I'll stall the guard as long as I can. You guys just keep doing what you're doing.
All right, fellas, you heard the man. You got it.
Okay, Cassie.
Where am I?
Night 4 gives a tip that Foxy can go to any camera. Why are we being told this when all Foxy does is attack your door? Well, guess what? Night 4 is where this game really starts to become hell on earth and makes me want to jerk off no lotion with sandpaper glued to my hand. So let's just talk about it. This night doesn't introduce a new threat. However, it does rework how Foxy attacks you entirely and makes him by far the most frustrating piece of shit, bullshit, dick-ass character in this entire goddamn game. This is the night where Foxy becomes an eye slut. And if any of you aren't familiar with the channel, an eye slut is a term I coined to reference a character in a FNAF game whose entire mechanic is just having to stare at them the entire time, and that's literally it. Easily one of the worst dynamics in a FNAF game, and here we are dealing with it. Foxy will slowly peer out of Pirate's Cove like usual, and just like the previous night, staring at him does not stall him like it does for Freddy. Once Foxy leaves the cove, instead of going to your door like he did in night 3, he instead does something so fucking heinously disgusting it makes me want to vomit down a water slide, race it to the bottom, and catch it all in my mouth, only to vomit again. Once Foxy leaves the cove, he will teleport to a random fucking camera with no sound cue whatsoever, and you have to go fucking find him. Are you kidding me? Are you fingering my butthole right now? What is wrong with your game? Why did you have to do this to me? This is actually so bullshit. And you want to hear the best part? Yeah. Well, once you find him and stare at him until he goes away, he'll teleport to another random fucking camera again. And once you find him there, he fucking does it again! No, I'm not kidding! And the most fucked up part, after you find him for the 3rd goddamn cock-sucking time, there is a chance that you'll have to go find him for a 4th time! Holy fucking shit! I'm gonna put a balloon in my urethra and blow it up until it pops! You've gotta be fucking me in my ass! This is so fucking retarded. And you're telling me he makes no sound cues either? This is actually the the most heinous, disgusting, degradable dog shit I've ever seen in my entire life. You thought Mario from Late Shift at Nintendo World was bad? Holy shit. You are not even close to ready for this piece of fuck shit. And I'm not even done yet with how bullshit this mechanic really is. Foxy can teleport to the same camera multiple times in one cycle, which means, oh, you find him on camera 3, then he's in camera 6. And then fuck it, guess what? Now he's back at camera 3. Are you literally raping me right now? Because that's legitimately what it feels like. We need an HR department because I need to file a fucking complaint for sexual harassment 4 times in a row now. All while you have Freddy also trying to vacuum your butthole inside out. This is fucking ridiculous. This is actually the most upset I've ever been playing a FNAF game before. When I learned this is what Foxy did, I got so reasonably upset, I literally stopped playing it over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Holy shit, you have no idea how much I was fuming. It was insane. You could have cooked a fucking egg on my forehead. I was so hot and boiling with rage, you don't fucking understand. I want to give you a strategy, but this really just turns into the fucking Foxy game. I guess I could say watch camera 4 the entire night, since Freddy goes through it so you can watch for Foxy leaving and stall Freddy at the same time. But I can give you, because this just turns the game into an RNG fuckfest. But if you manage to beat it, fucking somehow, then we can move on to the post-night minigame. The post-night minigame on night 4 is identical to night 3, no additional mechanics. However, you will notice that Bonnie has taken 16 Adderall and some heroin because he's become the fastest motherfucker on Earth. It's not hard to deal with, just a little bit shocking. Just check behind you once every 2 seconds or so, which is insane to say by the way, and you should be completely fine and able to skip the first 2 hours of my fucking nightmare, night 5.
Let me guess. You guys didn't get him? Oh. Then what happened?
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Did you guys get him?
No.
Oh.
We can't let him get away! Not now! Fritz, how do these suits work?
If your body's stuffed into a certain suit, you can control it.
And Jeremy, where did you find me when I woke up?
In parts and service. Why?
'Cause I've got a plan. Susie, you check for any spare costumes in the back. Everyone else, hop in your suits and follow me. One suit, Miss Cassie. Thanks, Susie. Jeremy, where'd you find my body?
Right over there, under those trash bags.
All right. Now I want someone to take my body and stuff it into that costume.
Cassie, are you sure about that? These things are pretty hard to control, let alone jump right into.
Fritz, trust me. I've got a plan.
Well, I ought to tell you, Cassie, you were kinda a mess when I found you.
I've seen a lot. I think I can manage.
All right, Gabe, put the goods in the suit.
Okay, just close your eyes. Okay, you could look now.
I want you guys to try taking that jerk out one more time. If you can't get him by sunrise, then it's my turn.
Cass, do you even know what you're doing?
Don't worry, Jeremy. I'll figure it out. Besides, I've seen enough monster pictures to know how to scare someone. Now's your chance, guys. Go get him. This is for them.
Oh my fucking god. Night 5. The night that takes the RNG and just says, fuck it. Let's crank it up even more because our player doesn't actually want to have fun playing a FNAF game. No, they obviously want the hardest piece of media of all time and for their neck to get bent 85 degrees like Chris Chan's penis. Night 5 seriously takes the difficulty of these characters and cranks it up so astronomically high, you will honestly think it's a different game you're playing. This game is so insane, I can't even describe it to you. These characters attack you so goddamn fast, you quite literally have no breathing room throughout the entirety of the night. But the worst part, truly the part that will make you pour hours of attempts into this night, is once again fucking Foxy, because for some reason they decided to change up his attack again. For some reason, God only knows what, once you hit 5 a.m. during night 5, Foxy will decide to use both of his attacks. Why? Because fuck you and your father in the face. That's why. If you happen to get attacked by both Bonnie and Foxy at the same time, you quite literally cannot do anything to prevent a loss. You just lose. And losing at 5 a.m. when you've had a night so fucking blood boiling, stressful, and chaotic is one of the worst feelings on the planet we call home. This night is actually just RNG. I've gotten so many comments telling me that it isn't, but nobody can actually explain to me why. Fuck all of you. This night is complete RNG. There's a lot of skill involved, don't get me wrong, but Foxy's main mechanic and his dick-ass synergy with Bonnie at 5 a.m. is quite literally just RNG and nothing else. No amount of skill can make you win when they decide to attack you at the same time. It is not possible. You do not have enough time to deal with Foxy before Bonnie skull fucks you, and you do not have enough time to get rid of Bonnie before Foxy uses you as a toy. It is just not possible, and this night is fucking bullshit. I don't even want to keep talking about it. The strategy is the same as night 4. Stare at camera 4 to stall Freddy and watch Foxy, and just hope to fucking God that once 5 a.m. hits, that Bonnie doesn't decide that now is just the perfect time to attack. And with that, there's no post-night minigame, because we just move right into Hell Incarnate, night 6. Holy shit. That was really cool. I'm not even gonna lie. But here we are, night 6, this game's boss fight night. And I'll be completely honest, out of all of the boss fight nights I've played, which trust me, doing this for a living is a lot, this is by far the most difficult boss fight night I have ever played in my entire life. There is only one threat on this night, that being Cassie herself as Yellin' Bear. I'm just gonna call her Cassie though, since that takes a lot less time to write, and I get the feeling I'm gonna be writing it a lot. Cassie has 6 possible fucking attacks that she can do. I'm not fucking with you. 6 attacks in one character. And this bitch is fast, like lightning, like Usain Bolt, like how quickly I scream after peeing hot boiling water because I slept with the trampy girl everyone warned me about. This night is all skill. You need to be fast and you need to be precise or it's completely GG. Let's start with the most basic attack, and really the only one that has any RNG at all. She's an eye slut. Hooray! She will throughout the night randomly teleport to a plethora of cameras. All you have to do is constantly make sure your camera is on her and that you're actively watching her. If not, she's gonna butter you like a biscuit, and this bitch loves biscuits. The second attack is just what Foxy should have stayed. You'll be able to hear a sound cue indicating that she's running down your left hall. Quickly turn around and hold the door closed, and she'll dive into it like I dive into man ass. Pause. Why the fuck did I write that? And then, of course, you'll be able to open the door again. Her third attack is something we haven't seen yet. Throughout the game, you've been able to see 3 large portraits in our office. That middle one will become super important on this night. Occasionally, the big portrait will move throughout the night. When you see it move, you'll have to turn the power off and turn away like with the Freddy attack. This forces you to constantly stop looking at the eye slut on your cameras, which makes her very fucking angry. But like, bro, just stop with the fucking picture and I won't look away. You're causing your own fucking problem, bro! Her fourth attack is simple. She just uses her top hat to act like Carl on your desk. Whoopity dick. Just click on it and it won't kill you. However, just like Carl, while the top hat is super easy to deal with, it's by far one of the easiest things to forget, and it's just as annoying as getting my big fat balls stuck in my zipper. Her fifth attack just has her start doing some Looney Tunes ass crazy shit because fuck it, why not? On the sides of your screen, she'll somehow spawn the fucking jaws of life and they'll start closing in on you. As if there wasn't enough during this night to stop you from playing the game, these jaws add add to just that heaping pile of fuck, forcing you to move your mouse to either side of the screen and click and hold to stop them from eating you. There is seriously so much in this night that takes away from the main goal of watching her on the cameras. It's insane. And her final attack doesn't make her much better whatsoever. Who would have thought? The final attack is literally just fucking annoying with no other purpose. Cassie can randomly switch which camera you're looking at to whichever one she wants to force you to stop looking at her. Meaning that if you don't catch her doing this while you're worried about the fucking hat, the fucking door, the fucking portrait, or the fucking jaws, she will sneak into your rectum and wreak havoc. This night is incredibly difficult. However, it is pretty much all skill. Lock in, hold your breath, stay consistent. If at any point you're not actively doing something during this night, then you will lose. This is a busy night and you need to stay busy the whole time. But if you can manage to keep your cool for long enough, this happens.
What? What? Stupid Uncle Chunk!
Hey, Cass, did you give him the axe?
No! And now we'll never, ever get our chance! Now all we got left of him is his dumb name card!
That wasn't his name.
What?
I can't remember it, but his name definitely wasn't Charlie.
Wait! It's coming back to me! Vance? No! Victor? Huh, it's on the back of my mind!
You're telling me. Look!
So, we almost killed a completely innocent man!
But we didn't! No harm, no foul.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Plus, I got some spiffy new duds.
Okay, now let's get out of here. I'm sick of looking at this stupid office.
Hey, where'd everybody go?
Hey, Gabe?
Yeah, Cassie?
Listen. Thank you guys for going through with my harebrained plan. Sorry it wasn't the right guy.
Don't worry about it. It's all right.
I'm gonna find him, though. I'm gonna get the fellow who did this, so you guys can be happy.
Cass, don't worry about that. I've got the others. Now we've got you. We're as happy as we need to be.
Thank you, Gabe.
So yeah, turns out they were attacking an innocent man for no fucking reason other than the fact that kids are stupid. I've been saying this for years, bro. All the more reason to never have one. There is one last small thing I want to talk about. After beating the game, you can go into Charlie's house and read a note from his daughter stating the following.
No, Daddy. Mommy told me that you're going to pick me up after school. I can't wait for my birthday tonight. I love you.
Stupid fucking kid can't spell properly. Well, whatever. I'm finally done. But as far as I'm aware, that's all 5 newfangled nights has to offer. Overall, I actually love this game. Of course, I hate Foxy and Night 5 is complete RNG bullshit, but the art style, the humor, the sound design, everything is actually really, really good, and I really like it. And of course, I had a lot of fun dubbing the cutscenes. I hope you guys enjoyed those. Links to the actors and actresses are in the description. Everything about this game is just so charming, except Foxy. It almost feels like a Cuphead meets FNAF type game, and I really like it. And I would totally recommend it. Up to Night 5. Give up. Typically, when speaking about Five Nights at Freddy's games, a large part of the conversation ends up being about the lore of said game. And as I'm sure you all know, the stories of these games are usually incredibly dark, filled with murder, betrayal, and torment. However, not the game we're talking about today. In this video, we'll be talking about Chica's Party World Rebaked. One of, if not the most wholesome FNAF game I've ever played. From cute visuals, fun characters, all the way to a story that has nothing to do with dead children at all. There's a lot to unpack in this super fun experience, so join me today as we arch our backs into the world of Chica's Party World Rebaked. Chica's Party World does something before each night that I actually think is really cool. We get a task to complete, and we can explore and wander around the building before starting each night. So, at 11 p.m., Night 1 begins. In this game, we actually play as a robot security guard, not a human, which is adorable. I like to imagine our character looking like Rufus from Secret of the Mimic. Not that that's his canon name or anything, that's just what I chose to call him. It's our job as Rufus to keep watch over the entire restaurant using our built-in surveillance system. So our first task is to visit every single room in the building. This is when we get a chance to move through each room like a shadow over Freddy's. You'll notice that the building is incredibly dark. This would be because the lights are off and being able to see anything does require light. So luckily for us, Rufus has been equipped with an LED that can briefly flash light to shine up the room. After using it, you'll have to wait a few seconds while the LED recharges to be able to flash again. We can explore every single room in the building, that is, except for one. If you are to enter the kitchen, you'll see there's a metal door. Hovering over it won't tell you what room is on the other side, and you'll be completely unable to interact with it. But after you finish exploring, we're ready to jump into the night section and start talking about the tools at our disposal. At the beginning of the night, we're able to detect a corrupted voicemail on Rufus. Listening to it, we hear an unnamed woman talking about one of the characters, Russell. Russell is Freddy, by the way. Not totally sure why he's given a different name in this game, but we'll roll with it. The lady says that Russell is very sensitive to bright lights, and that the people taking pictures of him with the flash on during the day disorients him, and it almost seems to physically hurt him. And because of this, he's always trying to go somewhere where the people aren't around. Before she can say much else, the voicemail becomes corrupted and ends. As I'm sure you could have guessed, Russell is the only threat introduced on this night. However, before we talk about how he works, we should talk about the tools at our disposal. To start, the office has two main directions you can be attacked from, the door and the vent behind you. We'll talk about the vent when it becomes important later, so let's just focus on the door. You'll notice that the door, well, has no door. So if anything walks up to our office, we'll have to use something else to keep them away. And that thing we'll need to use is that trusty LED we talked about earlier. You can flash your LED down the hallway to allow you to see if anyone is creeping around. Of course, since we're a security robot, we have remote access to all of the cameras in the building, and we can use them as fucking cameras. I don't know what you want from me, it's a FNAF game, bro. There's cameras, who would have thought? Russell is a pretty simple character overall. He'll wander around the various cameras in an attempt to get to your office. Look at that fucking hat, big ass hat, dude. It's such a big hat. Where did you get a hat so big? Where did you get that big of a hat? Once you know he's in your doorway, flash your LED at him and he'll go away. Now, this may bring up the question, if you can't literally see him in your doorway without flashing, how are you supposed to know he's there? Well, that question has a very simple answer. All you have to do is use the fucking cameras that you have at your disposal. Follow Russell around, and when he disappears and you're unable to find him on any camera, then congrats, he's probably at your door and you should flash him. However, later in the game, I'll tell you about a different strategy I developed for dealing with Russell, because he has an incredibly difficult synergy with another character we'll talk about later. But before we move on, I want to mention this game's art style because it is really unavoidable. This is easily the most unique FNAF art style I've ever seen. It's so low poly and brightly colored, but in no way does it look like those shitty copy and paste PSX horror games that are plastered all over itch and make it impossible for any indie developer to stand out. Please, for the love of God, stop making PSX horror games. Do something unique. Please. Fuck. But seriously, the pastel color palette is super different from a FNAF game, a genre where dark, I don't know where the fuck I am is kind of the norm. I can really appreciate when developers try something different, and I think this game nailed it perfectly. 11 p.m. night 2, and we're given a new task. One of the wires in Rufus's arm went to shit, so we'll have to repair it before the night begins. And with that, we're off to find something to fix ourselves. Before we talk about how to actually complete the task, we should bring up that, of course, this game has two endings, a bad ending and the true ending. I will be going over the true ending in this video because, no shit, that's the ending that actually means something. During every 11 p.m. section aside from the first, there will be something hidden around the building for us to find. Finding all of them will result in us achieving the true ending, and in Night 2's 11 p.m. segment, if you travel into the arcade, you can find a letter of termination from a woman named Heather Gray. It reads, "Dear Heather Gray, your employment with Chica's Party World will be officially terminated on June 21st, 2023. Reasons for termination include frequent disrespect of superiors, threats of violence. You will not be allowed to work tomorrow by any means, so make sure to collect your belongings today. Please remember to also review our confidentiality agreement, as you are under an NDA and will not be allowed to disclose company trade secrets, as well as practices and methods of operation. Chica's Party World is entitled to take legal action if you are caught violating these terms both before and after employment. Review of benefits to include health coverage of 401k in compliance with COBRA. Chica's Party World extends to eligible employees and their enrolled dependencies with the right to continue healthcare plan coverage for a specified period of time at their own expense and at full cost. Return of property. Please list and return any property of Chica's Party World that you may have in your possession. In addition, please provide any passwords and other information pertaining to accessing computer software and/or files. Your last paycheck will be received on June 21st, 2023. We wish you the best of luck in finding new employment, and we hope your experience has not been as regrettable as ours. Good luck. That last line is actually brutal as fuck. If I got this letter from an employer and they threw in that jab at the end, I'd probably just kill myself, bro. Heather Gray got fucking smoked so bad it's insane. I should also mention that Rufus claims he doesn't remember meeting this person, but that the name is familiar to him, which is interesting. Anyways, on to how to actually fix Rufus's boo-boo. If you head to the backstage, you'll be able to find some electrical tape. We use it to patch up our frayed wire and move our way back to the office to begin the night. The voicemail we're able to listen to on night 2 does give us some interesting information. The woman mentions how Top Hat, the Tiny Bonnie character, has been hiding in the vents and getting himself stuck. I find it interesting that these robots seem to be trying to hide away from the people in the building. The lady mentions that she spoke with Top Hat, and it's clear during this phone call that while these voicemails were being recorded, this lady was with somebody else at the time, and she mentions to this someone that they're giving her a weird look when she says that she talked to Top Hat.
I did talk to Top Hat about why he's... I talked to him. Don't give me that look.
Okay, Jesus fuck, sorry. But before she can elaborate more, the voicemail cuts out. I think this is pretty interesting. It seems like this lady has some sort of connection to some, if not all, of these robots. I wonder who she could be. Anyways, obviously Top Hat is the threat introduced on this night. And in all honesty, he's not a big hassle at all. As the voicemail would suggest, Top Hat really likes the vent behind you. So that's where he'll try to attack you from. He'll meander around the cameras, hop into the vent, and hop bottom straight towards your office. Now, I don't know if you guys know anything about vents, but I happen to know a thing or two about them. I happen to know that crawling around an event makes a lot of noise. That's why I have that one breaking and entering charge. Needless to say, I think she heard me in there. But that's not important. What is important is that you can also hear Top Hat when he's in your vent and about to attack you. When you hear him approaching, all you have to do is turn around and hold the vent door closed until you hear him bang on it like Foxy. Afterwards, you can reopen the vent. As of now, with only 2 threats attacking us, not much has changed from night 1. Just follow Russell around the cameras to know when he's in your doorway, and if you ever hear Top Hat in the vent, close that sucker and you'll be home free and ready to dive into night 3. Night 3, 11 p.m. time has finally arrived, and with it, a new task for us to complete. Rufus is having troubles connecting to the cameras, so figures the power may have been cut. Solving this problem is pretty easy. All we have to do is go into the dining area and reboot it. Simple sugar. However, as I'm sure you could have guessed, we have another piece of lore to discover as well. Remember that door in the kitchen that we couldn't interact with earlier? Well, after fixing the power, Rufus mentions that he hears something on the other side and goes to investigate. Upon doing so, we hear this.
I hear something coming from the doorway. Perhaps I should investigate.
No, we have to do this, Russell.
I know, but couldn't we just, I don't know, talk to them? Maybe they're friendly.
As much as I would like that, I don't think we have that option right now. We only have a few days left. Look, let's just keep trying for now. If we can't get through to them and it gets desperate, I'll take things into my own hands.
Well, Lowbite's helping tonight, right? Her temper's been nasty lately, but maybe she'll be able to get to them.
Oh, I can only hope. For the sake of all of us.
I should return to my station.
Well, apparently these animatronics are a bit more intelligent than they were led to believe. Russell was talking to an unnamed person about Lolbite joining us tonight. So we already know who the threat is going to be. If I had to guess who this person was talking to is, I'd probably say it's Chica, because that just makes sense. Anyways, let's go to the office. The voicemail we heard on this night is pretty interesting. The lady is talking about Lolbite, who apparently used to be called Tangle. However, when this is mentioned, she said that, quote, she wants to be called Lolbite now, end quote, which would imply that Lolbite told her this. She said that Lolbite is trying to be on her best behavior after what happened, so I can only assume that Tangle probably did some Bite of 87 style shit and now wants to be better, but I can't be sure. Obviously, Lolbite is the new threat introduced on this night, and she is bad news bears for our current strategy. While Lolbite moves around the cameras, her aggression will increase because you're not watching her. To make her anger go down, obviously all you have to do is follow her around the cameras and watch her. If it goes up all the way, you can guess what happens. Dead. Why is she such a problem for our current strategy? Well, of course, we're watching Russell all night right now, so adding a character that forces us to watch them is obviously going to be a pretty large problem. So, how did I change my strategy to prepare for this? Well, let me tell you. You know how we were watching Russell? Yeah? Well, I'm just gonna not do that anymore. I know, I'm a genius. All of my time on the cameras will now be poured into Lolbite, and at every opportunity I get to flash the hall with the LED, I will. Flash the hall, watch Lolbite until it recharges, instantly flash again. And of course, close the vent when I need to. Does this lead to needing to have luck with Russell? Yes, but it's also a lot easier on my poor little goblin brain. Oh yeah, I also lied because one other threat is introduced on this night. Coraline, Chica's cupcake. Very simple mechanic. Every once in a while she will appear on a camera and you will have to go find her. I want to die, I want to see one FNAF game without finding them on the cameras. That would be amazing. Anyways, when you find her, flash her, and if you don't, she's gonna fuck up your cameras and it'll be GG for you. Night 4, 11 p.m. That is what time and what night we are currently about to be speaking about. Anyways, the task on this night requires us to investigate a large crashing sound we heard in the building. But before we do that, oh hey look, a note on the table. On it shows a bunch of phrases scratched out with Gears Weld being circled. If I had to guess, Gears Weld is probably the name of a company that builds robots, perhaps animatronics. Continuing with our task, heading to the arcade will reveal that Top Hat is just chilling in the ball pit. Oh.
What? I won't tell you what to do.
Oh.
Carry on.
Carry on. That's not, I like that. I like that. Top Hat's playing around. Playing around in there. After a short interaction with him, he dives back inside, and with our task completed, we head back to the office to be the night. There is one threat introduced on this night, and this is Silver Chicken, or as was originally going to be called, Spring Chica. She acts as more of a hallucination than anything you actually have to be worried about. And in fact, during this night's phone call, the lady mentions how she stopped programming its AI the moment that whoever she was speaking to told her to. So we can assume that she's been talking to her boss throughout this game. The way Silver Chicken works is pretty simple. She will randomly appear on the cameras like Phantom Balloon Boy from FNAF 3. Stare at her too long and she'll have intercourse with all of your tools, and the only way to avoid her is to obviously just not look at the camera she's on for too long. This brings up synergy with Lolbite, since you will be switching through cameras a lot trying to find her, but overall, Silver Chicken really isn't that much of an issue at all. Night 5, 11 p.m. Back to the coal mines for us. During this section, our task is pretty easy, and is technically the exact same as the wire fraying task. Our LED is broken and we need to find a replacement. Just like the wire task, head to the back room and install the new bulb and it's GG. The only difference in this task is that you obviously can't flash your LED while walking around the building until you replace it. However, before we head to the office, near the entrance of the building we can hear the phone ringing. Curious, we walk over to it, and when we answer the phone, we hear the following call.
Chica, there you are. Are you guys almost ready? I should be headed down in the next few hours. Make sure you have everyone with you when I get there.
Who is this? I suppose she had the wrong number.
Well, this is interesting. Clearly the person on the other end of the phone assumed that only Chica would answer it, hanging up immediately after hearing Rufus's voice. She says she's on her way, so who knows what that could mean? There's only one way to find out, and to do so, we first have to beat Night 5. I don't even want to explain the Night 5 voicemail to you. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more if you just hear it for yourself.
You wanna fire me? Fine. You can silence me, silence every single person who tells you the truth, but it doesn't stop it from being real. These machines are alive. You can argue all you want, they don't think, they don't feel, but no ordinary robot would ever show more compassion than you have as a leader. They're smarter than you think, I promise you that. You can't keep them here forever, and if they want out, they'll find a way to make it happen. And all things considered, I'm glad I won't have to be working for you when it happens. 6.
So it's confirmed. These robots are alive and they want to leave. And come to think of it, the girl in these voicemails sure sounds a lot like the girl we just heard on the phone who said she's coming this way, and she was fired. I wonder if she's not coming to take these robots away. Before we can figure that out, we first have to talk about the final threat this game introduces, the main attraction herself, Chica. Something I quickly want to mention is how fucking groovy the music is on Night 5. I wouldn't call this night a boss fight night, but the music really makes it feel like one. Chica works very similarly to Russell, except she is much harder to track on the cameras. If you ever find Chica on the cameras, she will quickly jump into the blind spot of the camera to prevent you from seeing her. So while you do know which camera she's on, when she hides, it'll be impossible to tell if she's there, which I think, while annoying, is really cool. It shows how intelligent these robots are. Her goal is to get to your door like Russell, except where when Russell reaches the crossroads, aka this T-shaped part in your cameras, he will immediately show up at your door. Not Chica. Chica will jump between the left and right cameras of the crossroads and at random jump into your doorway. So you most certainly will have to try your best to keep an eye on her. Once she enters your doorway, just like Russell, flash her with the LED and she'll go away. And if you can hold your nerves together for long enough, you'll beat Night 5, and if you've collected all of the secrets during the 11 p.m. sections, we'll get this final cutscene. Through the past nights you've spent here, something starts to click in place within you. These robots aren't just company property like you have been told to believe. These are people. Perhaps they may not walk and talk and breathe the same way that humans do, but there is no less still a sense of kinship, a sense of living. You aren't as different as you were told to think. As you wander out of your station, you see them start to leave. One by one, the animatronics start to make their way out of the broken entrance doorway, aided by someone on the outside. You tap on the shoulder of Chica from behind, the last one to go out of the door, giving her a small jolt of surprise.
What? Oh, it's you.
It's by no means an unwarranted reaction, that of shock and a hint of disdain. You can't blame her too much. They reprogrammed you specifically to hinder her. I want to come with you, you say, much to her surprise as well. In fact, she seems rather speechless at the statement, but it no longer seems to be in spite. The silence is broken by their ally peeking in through the doorway, reaffirming the escape.
Chica, we need to go.
An equally stunned silence when she lays eyes upon you. Though her face is covered by a mask, you can still see her glasses and hair.
Well, I suppose you'll need to make room for one more.
Chica states. You know that voice. It's the voice you heard over the recordings. It's the voice of the person who constructed you. Your thoughts are interrupted by the pressure of a hug. It feels like overheating, but different.
Call me Heather. Let's get you home.
From this day forward, you were no longer a tool for a company that cared little for your existence. Instead, you fight for a new life alongside your newfound friends. You disconnected yourself from the mainframe, taking all previous security footage alongside you. You're going home. The news surrounding the incident states that no leads have been uncovered due to the substantial lack of evidence regarding the stolen property. All databases have been completely wiped, and most trails lead to dead ends. Chica's party world shows no sign of reopening in the near future. So, there we go. Undoubtedly the most wholesome ending to a FNAF game I've ever seen in my life. An ending with no death, no betrayal, just some lost robots wanting to leave the establishment they were trapped in, and an employee who actually cared about them helping to achieve that. We get the reveal that Rufus was made by Heather, and even in this moment she was able to allow him to come with, even knowing his original purpose. Chica's Party World gave these animatronics feelings and true character, even in these final moments really making you care about them, even after being attacked by them for so long. This game's story is incredible. It's so simple and easy to follow, yet is in all honesty one of, if not my favorite story ever told by a FNAF game I've ever seen throughout my FNAF career. Overall, Chica's Party World is one of the most enjoyable FNAF experiences I've ever had. From the fun and engaging gameplay loop, all the way to the aforementioned phenomenal story and storytelling of Poisonous Pastels, incredible work. And if you'd like to hear another piece of interesting information about this game, Avocado Dreams was one of the main developers of it. No matter where I go, and no matter what I talk about, every time I really enjoy a FNAF game for any reason, it seems like Avocado Dreams had something to do with it, and I'm all for it. Please go give this game a try and show it some love, you will not regret it. Well, let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this game is just too different to be able to be a proper FNAF game? Let me know in the comments below. In my FNAF Legacy video, I asked you guys what your favorite official FNAF game recreation was, and my favorite answer was this one by FaZe Rings, who said Night Watch at Freddy's, and I totally agree. Easily one of the coolest and most interesting takes on a remake I've ever seen, and it's also made by Avocado Dreams. She really is just incredible. You can see my review of that game on this channel, you should go watch that one next. The question of this video is, what FNAF fan game would you like to see get a sequel and why? With the question of the video being asked, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these incredibly talented artists for their fan art. You can submit yours in the Discord server, link in the description. Thank you to all of my superfan channel members, you guys are all Rizzly Bears. That's a grizzly bear, but is very rizzy. I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!